Howdy, howdy, howdy. Hope everybody had a good week so far. It's the 4th of July weekend coming up starting tomorrow. So I want to wish everybody a happy 4th and happy birthday to America. Anyway, let's go ahead and say hi to everybody. Let me back up here. All the way back. Let's see, who will get the fireworks cookie? That's a special cookie. Blows up. It blows up in your mouth. No, it really doesn't, but it could. Let's see, who got it? Looks like Chuck Schreiber got the cookie. All right, Chuck, good to see you here and enjoy that cookie. And Gerald Stewart got the half cookie. Good to see you, Gerald. Been a while. Glad you're here. Let's see who else we got. Quasimodo, he got the... He says, I am the Crumsy-moto. Okay, we got crumbs. That's something. Anyway, good to see you, Quasi. John Nippenberg, Landmark Yards. Good to see you, John. Tom Grassi, always good to see you, Tom. And that big steam guy, 94, that would be Thomas. Thomas, how you doing? Good to see you here. Captain Ray. Hey, Ray, how's it going? Good to see you. The Bud Files. Hey, Bud, how's it going, man? Good to see you here. And who else do we got? Schuylkill River Valley. John, happy birthday, man. Good to see you here. Let's see who else we got. I'm still scrolling. Dundas Junction Model Railroad. Hey, James, how's it going, man? Good to see you. You see, he says they lost their power for a few seconds, killing their internet for a bit. Yeah, I know, that sucks. Anyway, glad you're back on, James. Good to see you here. And who else do we have? Ray Central. Hey, Ray, good to see you. Now we got 2 Rays in here. You're welcome, John. Alright, guys, well, there we are. Let me move my chair over again. Not wrongly. Keep forgetting everything's kind of backwards when it comes down to this. Ray says, who knew cake pops could be the cause of social media drama? I have no idea what the hell you're talking about, but I'll go with it. So anyway, it's been a busy week. And if you look behind me, you'll see the newest addition to the shed. I went ahead and I bought it yesterday. And it's a brand new workbench. It's already set up. I got 2 of the 3 drawers already loaded up. Got my soldering station up there. All the assorted glues and parts cabinets. All kinds of goodies. So that's set up. And it was much needed, so now I've got a place where I can actually work. The only thing I got left to do, well, there's 2 things I got left to do there, and that, of course, is to get a camera over there. I might try and set up an overhead camera. Probably this one right here. Oh, thanks, Chuck. Appreciate it. And, of course, I did order a self-healing cutting mat for it, a big one. But I had to get it from Temu. They were the cheapest places I could find one because Amazon wanted fucking really outrageous money for one. It's the same thing. So I went ahead and ordered it yesterday, last night actually. And it might not be here till the end of the month. Let's see, when it gets here, it gets here, but that's okay. Didn't know that James belated Memorial Day wishes as well. Okay, cool. July 1st in the AM is Memorial Day. Oh, I didn't know that. Cool. Oh, sorry to hear that you lost 900 men in World War I. That sucks. Hey, Derek Alexander, how you doing? Good to see you here. Got 2 birthday wishes today. One for the country, one for John. I guess that works out pretty good, doesn't it? So, like I said, I've been busy doing things. See, the trains are running fairly good now with the new power supply. Seems to be working out pretty good. It's nice that it's got readouts on it. So I'm pushing a constant 16 volts. And it's got an allowance up to 6 amps. But it's only drawing less than 1 amp in most cases. That's for 2 locos running. That's not bad. Hey, Joe Rader, Black Rock Central. How you doing, Joe? Good to see you here, man. So, I figure I can run probably multiple engines now. And, you know, I'm not going to have any issues with amperage or voltage. So that's a good thing. John, did you know we lost 70,000 people and 3,500 ships during the Battle of the Atlantic in World War II? I didn't know that. Thomas says, Jim, I am in the process of making a CPKC 304 stainless steel last railroad spike. Cool. Baltimore area is cooking too. Yeah, it's a heat dome. It's supposed to really kick in. I guess it already has, but it's supposed to get a lot worse throughout the 4th of July weekend. So they're basically saying that most of the country is going to be in triple digits. Oh, fucking joy, right? So I haven't really been paying attention. It's 87 right now here. It's actually been fairly decent here down in Sebring, Florida, but I guess if you go further south, though, they've been in the triple digits. Curly Express, Dwight, how's it going? Dwight, good to see you here. So, you know, it's just... John says it got 113 today. Yeah, I'm not surprised. And you know this is man-made. I don't care what anybody says. You know, I got a thing from a friend. I should have saved it, but the 4 stages of climate control. Not climate change, climate control. And they're saying that the end result will be a heat dome over most of America. And wouldn't you know it, we had a heat dome. So, who the hell knows? Tom says it was 102. Now, here was 108 at 3 o'clock. Wow, that's crazy. Yeah, apparently the north is getting hit harder than the south. You guys are actually hotter than we are down in Florida for the most part. Go figure, right? So, anyway. But I did print something the other day. And Thomas, you'll like this one. Look familiar? Came out really good. It's 2 pieces. I'm not sure what the correct length is on it, so you'd have to glue it. The only problem is, I'm not sending it to you until I get my locomotive you promised me. So as soon as I get that locomotive, I'll ship this out to you. Sounds like a fair deal, right? Thomas says they have 97 degrees. Yeah, it's pretty hot. It's hot everywhere, pretty much. Air conditioners are working overtime, let me tell you. It's cool in here. I got it set at 72. And the actual temperature is probably around 74 in here. I got it set at 76 in the house, and it's probably around 77, 78. So we're doing okay. Derek says we hit exactly 100 today without the heat index. Oh yeah, and the heat index, that's what we call it real feel down here. Same damn thing. And if it feels like 110, it's 110. Even though the actual temperature is only 100. So, you know. Chuck says, sounds like a hostage. Yeah, it kind of is, Chuck. Only because, you know, it's going to cost me money to ship this out. And I figure, you know, tit for tat's pretty good. And Thomas has been promising me that locomotive for what now? 2-3 months? So I'm going to hold his feet to the fire. So anyway, I did that. What else have I done? Actually, I spent most of today before the show cleaning out the drawers in the other room and that bench and reorganizing these drawers here. So, like I said, it came out pretty good, really. There's pretty well organized. I'm debating whether I want to make more parts cabinets or not. I might, because they come in. They're really handy. I've got everything you can imagine in the drawers. Everything from resistors to LEDs to metal wheel sets, screws, bolts, nuts. I'm going to send you your locomotive tomorrow. All right. As soon as I get it, I'll ship this out. I gotta mess with somebody. Might as well be you. Derek said today was supposed to be the hottest day, but now they're saying it will be hotter tomorrow. Yeah, they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Twice now we've had 2 hurricane warnings. I don't remember the names on the A and one was B. I think it was Billy or something like that. Every time I look on the radar, there's nothing out there. So I don't know what the hell they're doing. Their radar shows a storm system. My radar shows nothing. Somebody's lying. And I'm pretty sure it ain't me. And, nothing's hit here, so... And these warnings come and go that quick, Oh, Florida needs to be careful. There's a hurricane out in the Atlantic that's getting ready to hit the Florida coastline, and then nothing happens, and then you don't hear another word about it. You gotta love it. What name was Thomas when he said he was going to ship? You have to wait till that name comes around again. That was, what the hell was it? It wasn't Spike Man. I can't remember now. He changes his name so many times. I can't remember what the hell's what anymore. Let's see. James says, Derek, they forecasted the entire week hot. Yeah, it's supposed to be. So we'll have to just wait and see. Like I said, the problem is because I'm relatively sure this is manipulated weather. And yes, they can in fact manipulate the weather to a certain degree. The problem we're going to have is what's going to happen once this heat dome dissipates. Will it snow next? Who the hell knows? Will we have a drought? Will we get torrential downpours? No one knows, because every time you screw with the weather, there's unintended consequences. And trust me, there will be on this one too. They just can't leave nothing alone, And I don't know what the point of it is. I mean, if it was depopulation, which it could possibly be, but at this rate, it'll take 1,000 years to depopulate America. The death count's very low on these supposed, disastrous weather situations. I went chasing trains today, and the heat caught 2. Oh, cool, James. Let's see, Thomas is just your locomotive having electrical issues. I'm sure you can fix. Yeah, it's not a big deal. I can fix that. I just said I'm going to repaint it and all that. It's not a big deal. I'll probably even put, a sound decoder in there. So, just the loco itself is fine. I don't care whether it runs or not. Old saying, don't fuck with Mother Nature. You're absolutely right, Tom. And they keep on doing it. 6 months ago, the East Coast was down to 0. That's a big swing. Well, yeah, it is, Chuck, but this is what they're doing. I don't know if they're experimenting and they don't know what the outcomes are either, or they're just showing off. Oh, look, we can fuck the weather up at will. Yeah, maybe you can. And maybe it'll come back and bite you in the ass. Who the hell knows? You know. It's a high hood. Okay, that's cool. I have no idea what... Until I see it, I don't really know what the difference between a high hood and a low hood is. It's better than a no hood, I guess. You know, right? Yeah, I printed this yesterday. And it came out absolute perfect. They said it's 2 pieces. And you'll have to figure out the length and then glue it together. It's probably something close to that. But there's not a flaw on it. It came out absolutely perfect. So I was good. I was glad to see that, because, you know, sometimes you never know if something is going to turn out right or not. Hell, I might be in the next Death Valley. Yeah, you might be, Chuck. Hell, we all might be. Who knows? The only problem with excessive heat like that is, especially for the north, that's why I think maybe this is potentially planned. A lot of people in the north don't have air conditioners. Remember Chicago? It was 20, 30 years ago, I think, thereabouts. I think it was in the 80s or the 90s. I don't remember. But they had a heat wave and it was like triple digit. And a lot of people died because they had no air conditioning. Oh, what the hell is this? This is a reverser level for a locomotive. You jam it in the hole and switch it back and forth, forward, neutral, and reverse. Or you could use it for other things. I didn't really say that, or did I? So that's the only problem with the excessive heat. And I think more people die from excessive heat than they do excessive cold. It's somewhat easier to warm up than it is to cool off. You know, you could get naked and then you're screwed after that. There's not more you can take off. At least when it's cold, you could layer your clothing and, you know, wrap yourself up in blankets or whatever and actually survive even, you know, below zero weather. But if it gets 110 out there, well, exactly, Joe, and that's the problem that's happening in Europe right now. And they're getting the same heat dome we are. It could be a weapon. Oh, that... No. Oh, I don't know what kind of weapon. Like a part of a gun with a silencer on it. It could be. I don't know. Now, it's a reverser handle. Thomas asked me if I could print one up, and he sent me the file. I said, yeah, what the hell, I'll give it a shot. It didn't take shit for film it. So it actually came out pretty good. So, yeah, I know. And a lot of people are dying. Well, I don't know if a lot, but some people are dying in Europe. And, of course, another problem with the heat is people get fucking angry. When they get angry, they get stupid and they get violent. So, you know, when you got a lot of Muslims over there, they start boiling in the heat, they might decide to declare war on the English or the Europeans as a whole. Who knows? Chuck says, don't say that, Tom. Jim wants some visitor. I already own guns. It's not a big deal. I don't have a silencer, though, but I thought they made silencers legal. The Supreme Court, I thought, did. But now I'm not so sure. I don't know. That's stupid. It's a fucking muffler for a gun. And it doesn't make them whisper quiet. You know. It keeps you from losing your hearing. That's about it. Joe Rader, people in France are dying because they don't have air, because France is still doing climate bullshit, and they claimed it was the fault. Oh, yeah. I read that, too. It's Trump's fault that they're suffering through climate change. It's like, you know, okay. Oh, fucking French. Fuck them. Captain Ray says, anyone have any opinions about the Creality Sparks i7 multicolored 3D printer? Good price, $279. I don't know anything about it, Ray. You know, like I said, I like the Bamboo Labs. I think it's a good machine. And I could have got the AMS unit for it for another $100 if I'd have bought it all together. So, but I didn't, and now if I want to add AMS to it, it's $200. That's my only bitch. But I don't know if I'm going to buy a second one or not. I might down the road. Who knows? You know. The problem, of course, is always, available room. But I'm finding out that there's a lot of things I could do with that bamboo that I no longer, in some cases, I don't need the resin printers as much. So I might sell one of the resin printers and just keep one. And I think there'd be almost enough room on that workbench for two A1s and the resin printer, plus because the drill press has to stay there too. So, and I just made a part for the drill press. There's a gauge, a depth gauge on the drill press. It's plastic, while the screw part is, and that's metal, but the thing that holds it on where the chuck is plastic, and it has a plastic arrow on the top that goes up and down on a gauge that's printed on the front of the press. I should have took pictures, I didn't. Well, anyway, I've had that drill press for probably, I bought it back in Naples, so I'd say I probably have it maybe 8, 10, 12 years. I've had it for a very long time. Well, the plastic dry rotted. So I went to pick it up. I didn't even grab the plastic. I just picked up the machine, and that bracket just disintegrated right in front of my face. So I said, well, shit, I could either buy one, which probably set me back $20, as it were. Put the arrow thing on the top. Well, that's weird. Huh. OBS disconnected and reconnected. Uh-oh. Should come back up in a minute. I hope. This live stream is offline. It's not offline, though. Oh, shit. Now what? Okay, we're back on. Are we working? Yeah, okay, we're working. Yeah, something happened. I got a warning. It said it disconnected, then it reconnected. No, I didn't have a stroke, but... Hey, what the hell's going on with this stuff lately? Yeah, that's good now. Everything's in the green, so I don't know what's going on. It's just weird. Tom Kavicek, Tom Stranger, he's been having a lot of problems on his end, too, with similar problems. Now, he uses different software than I do, but he had one where it kicked him off. The stream died, but it showed him live on his end. So I had to actually call him on my phone and say, hey, Tom, you lost the stream. He goes, no, I didn't. I said, yeah, you did. It's dead. So he looks, he says, son of a bitch, you're right, Now it's going back red, green, orange. Oh, fuck. What the hell's going on here? Yeah. I don't know. Buffering. Alright, we're back in the green. I was buffering for a minute there. Now we're still online, but I buffered. I didn't go offline. I don't know what the hell's going on. It's weird. Hey Gerald, good to see you here, man. What the hell was I talking about? Oh yeah. I don't get what the hell's going on here. Like I said, it's weird. Now it's back in the yellow, back in the red. Back in the yellow. What the hell's going on? Orange? What's orange? Back in the green. I have no idea. Let me shut some things down here. Maybe I'm overloading the computer. That should help a little bit. And let shut that down. Okay, yeah, I think we should be good. Hopefully we'll be good now. I shut down some tabs and shut down the cameras. Jim, is that OB monitor you're looking at? Well, I got my phone on the channel so I can see live what's going on. OBS is in front of me, and then I had the PoE cameras on a little monitor, so I just turned them off. So I think we'll be fine now, hopefully. But I don't know what's going on there. Derek says I had to leave and come back. Okay, now that's good. Can't rely on OBS to monitor network. Apparently not. Hey, Rick Strain, how you doing? Good to see you here. You know, the problem is I tried using StreamYard during the weekday, and it wasn't working well for me at all. It was, and I didn't even go live yet. I was just monitor on, I was in the studio, and it was freezing up, and I tried to open up do the cameras for the trades. It brought them up, but then it kicked them off, then it brought them up again, then kicked them. I don't know what the hell's going on. So, who knows? So, I mean, for the most part, I'm stuck with OBS for now, and I'm normally it works fine for me. So, we're gonna have glitches. I mean, there's no way around it. It happens. So, let's see what else. Oh, yeah, another weird thing that happened, too. Must have got really hot in here before I came in. If you look behind me, well, right there, there's a frame. And I had these spikes glued to it. Had two of them. These are spikes that Thomas gave to me a long time ago. Well, they were both on the floor when I came in here. That was the other day. So I'm going to have to re-glue them. Of course, I might take a grinder to the back end and, maybe clean it up some more. I know, damn gremlins, right? And get those back up on the frame. So, it's always something. So anyway, what else did I do here? What else are we going to talk about? So hopefully within the next week or so, I'll have everything organized in this area and in the new building, what we call the printer room now. And then I could get to work back to work on the. Hey Andy, how you doing? Good to see you here, man. Oh, you're on vacation? Well, I hope you enjoyed your vacation, man. So, hopefully then I can start working on the layout again. Probably the next thing I'm probably going to do. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. Put wire through there. I didn't think of that. I've got some small wire that will work. I'll glue it and wire it, so it'll be both. And you really won't see the wire because it's stripped wire, so it'll look like silver. Thanks for that suggestion. Yeah, actually they would have. I don't think it would have done any damage to them, but it could have. They're pretty heavy, So, the next thing, like I said, I want to do is get the motor man hooked up so I could run the above ground Amtrak, passenger trains. So that's the next. I think that's going to be the next thing I do. That shouldn't be too much of a problem. I mean, not really. I read through the manual already, and I have a fairly good idea on what I need to do, so we'll see. That was weird. Hey, all kinds of weird shit's going on. Yeah, I saw that. It went off again, and now it's back again. At least I believe it is. Yeah, it is. What the fuck? Bring this thing a little closer, I can see it better. I don't know, it dropped off again because I noticed when I looked at my phone, because I said I've got the live stream on the phone as a monitor. It's not frozen here on the monitor. So I don't know what's going on. Well, it's blinking between green and red again too, so I don't know what the hell's going on. I guess that could be Starlink fucking up, who knows? Hard telling. I mean, it's not storming outside, so, you know. This is partly sunny out there, so it's not right. I don't know. Just one of those fucking things that there to piss me off, I guess. So let's see what else is going on. Yes, I had to rearrange a lot of things to make all this work, but that's okay. It's all coming together, actually. You buffering? I'm not buffering yet. It might have earlier, I didn't notice. So far, so good. And we're back in the green again, so. Who the hell knows? It's really aggravating when the internet screws up like that, you know? The thing is, the CPU usage is at 7.6 right now, which is real low, which is good. I did overclock the video card. It seemed to help a lot. I love it when a plan falls apart. Yeah, right. So that, and I don't know, like I said, at some point maybe that video card will just, you know, go bye-bye and, you know, lay down on me. Who the hell knows? It's been in there. Let's see, I bought that when I built a computer. That's almost 6 years ago. So I may have to get a new one. Who knows? I don't really like overclocking stuff, but, you know, sometimes you don't have a choice. That's an 8 gig video card too, so, you know, it is what it is. So I do have a video for you. It's 17 minutes long. Gerald Stewart sent it to me. It was pretty cool. It's kind of a sort of a history on the caboose, how it came about and how it went away. And there's some interesting things about it that I wasn't aware of. And I think, in my opinion, of course you'll have to watch the video, which I'll show in a minute. In my opinion, I think they really screwed up by doing away with the caboose. And they did it supposedly to save money. But I don't actually see where they're saving money. So, I didn't catch Morning Blue this morning either. I slept through it. So, you know, it is what it is. Anyway, let me go ahead and put this video on for you. Hopefully we won't have any issues. And you'll be able to watch it in its entirety. So let's see here. Where did it go? Here it is. Alright guys, see you in 18 minutes.
A freight train rolls through the Great Plains at 2 in the morning, hauling 10,000 tons of grain toward a port terminal 600 miles away. 2 people are responsible for that entire train, an engineer and a conductor, sitting side by side in a locomotive cab. They have been awake since before midnight. But here is the question almost nobody outside the railroad industry thinks to ask. When those two crew members reach their physical and legal limit, when federal law says they cannot work a single minute longer, where do they actually go to sleep? The answer is more complicated and more revealing than you might expect. Because the story of where freight crews rest is not just a logistics question. It is really the story of how American railroading went from a job where you lived on the train to a job where the train barely acknowledges you exist. It was 1838 on the Auburn and Syracuse Railroad in upstate New York, and a conductor named Nat Williams was tired of riding in empty boxcars between runs. He dragged a wooden box inside for a chair, flipped a barrel on its side for a desk, and decided this rolling shed at the end of his train was now his office. That makeshift arrangement became the first caboose. Within a few decades, nearly every freight railroad in the country had adopted the idea. By the late 1800s, the caboose had evolved from a crude shelter on a flat car into something genuinely functional. Coal-fired stoves provided heat and a place to cook meals. Wooden bunks lined the walls, doubling as storage underneath for tools and spare coupler knuckles. Oil lamps swung from the ceiling. Water tanks fed a small basin and a basic toilet. And from a raised glass cupola on the roof, a brakeman could peer down the length of the entire train, watching for overheated bearings, shifted loads, or equipment dragging along the track. But the cupola itself has an origin story that's worth knowing. In 1863, a Chicago and Northwestern conductor named T.B. Watson was assigned a wooden boxcar after his regular caboose got reassigned to another crew. That boxcar happened to have a hole in the roof. Watson stacked some crates, poked his head and shoulders through the opening, and realized he had a perfect view of the train ahead. When he got back to the terminal at Clinton, Iowa, he told a master mechanic about it and suggested they build a permanent raised lookout into the next batch of new cars. The cupola became standard within a decade, and it wasn't just a design improvement. It changed the brakeman's entire relationship to the train, giving him a vantage point that could genuinely save lives. What rarely gets mentioned about the caboose, though, is how personal it became. Railroad companies often assigned the same caboose to the same conductor for years at a time. Crews hung curtains in the windows, tacked up family photographs, stocked the pantry with their own coffee and canned goods. Some railroads painted their cabooses in distinctive colors. Norfolk and Western used bold blue with white lettering so their cars would stand out in the fog along Virginia coal country. Southern Railway favored green-trimmed red. The caboose was not just a workplace. For men spending days away from home on long freight runs, it was the closest thing they had to a living room on wheels. By 1970, over 30,000 cabooses were rolling across North America. Federal and state laws mandated their presence on virtually every freight train, but the caboose's days were already numbered, and what replaced it would change the job of every freight crew member in the country. The technology that killed the caboose arrived quietly, without fanfare. Roller-bearing trucks, introduced in the 1940s, dramatically reduced the risk of hot boxes, those dangerously overheated axle bearings that a brakeman in the cupola was specifically watching for. Wayside detectors planted along the tracks could now spot a hot bearing automatically and radio the information to the locomotive. Centralized traffic control systems replaced hand-thrown switches. Two-way radios made visual signals between the front and rear of the train unnecessary. And then came the device that made the human lookout officially redundant. The end-of-train device, a small electronic box clamped to the rear coupler of the last car. Railroaders called it a FRED, short for flashing rear-end device. It wasn't complicated. The FRED monitored brake line air pressure, detected movement at startup so the engineer knew all the slack was out of the couplings, and blinked a red light to warn any following train. It did the core safety job of a rear-end crew member for a fraction of the cost. And it didn't need a bunk, a stove, or a paycheck. In 1982, a presidential emergency board convened under the Railway Labor Act and directed American railroads to begin eliminating cabooses. The Florida East Coast Railway had actually been running without them since 1969, but now the rest of the industry followed. Norfolk Southern retired its fleet by 1987. CSX Transportation, formed from the merger of the Chessie System and Seaboard Railroads, followed in 1989. Some states fought back with so-called caboose laws, requiring their continued use, but those fell one by one. West Virginia repealed its law in 1983. Kentucky held on until 1993. By 1990, the mainline caboose was effectively extinct. The financial math behind this decision wasn't subtle. In 1980, operating a single caboose cost roughly 92 cents per mile. For a train running 1,000 miles, that was almost $1,000 in caboose costs alone, before you even counted the wages of the crew members riding inside. One terminal superintendent on the Cotton Belt Railroad estimated his line spent $300 a day just switching cabooses in and out at terminals. And here is the detail that even railroad enthusiasts sometimes miss. When the caboose vanished, so did the last place on a freight train where a crew member could sleep. The conductor, who had always ridden in the caboose, now moved up to the locomotive cab with the engineer. Both crew members would occupy that cab for the duration of their shift, and neither of them was allowed to close their eyes. Not for a minute. So where do they sleep now? The answer starts with a clock. Federal law, originally enacted in 1907 and tightened several times since, caps a freight crew's on-duty time at 12 consecutive hours. The original limit was 16 hours, which was reduced to 14 in 1969 and then to 12 in 1976. Once a crew hits that 12-hour mark, they must stop working immediately. If they are between terminals, they tie the train down on a siding or in a rail yard, secure the brakes, and wait. Railroaders have a term for this. They call it dying on the law. The train doesn't care that it's 60 miles short of its destination. The law doesn't care that the nearest crew change point is another 2 hours ahead. 12 hours is 12 hours. The crew plans ahead, watching the clock, trying to reach a terminal before their time runs out. When they can't, the train stops wherever it happens to be. It gets tied down on a siding or in a passing track, brakes secured, and the crew waits for a relief crew or a van. After a 12-hour shift, federal law requires a minimum of 10 consecutive hours off duty. If the shift was under 12 hours, the minimum drops to 8. During that off-duty period, the railroad can't contact the crew member for any reason. A single phone call from a train master restarts the rest clock entirely. If the crew finishes their run at their home terminal, the system is simple. They drive home and sleep in their own bed. But freight railroading is built around a network of paired terminals, a home terminal and an away-from-home terminal, connected by a route that typically takes close to 12 hours to cover. A crew picks up a train at their home terminal, runs it to the away terminal, and then has to wait there until a train heading back becomes available. At the away terminal, the railroad provides lodging. In practice, this means a hotel room. The major freight carriers contract with lodging companies that manage blocks of rooms at chain hotels and motels near rail yards across the country. A crew van, usually a shuttle operated by a contracted transportation company, picks the crew up at the yard and drives them to the hotel. When a return train becomes available, the van picks them up again and brings them back to the yard. That waiting period at the away terminal is where things get uncomfortable. A crew member might wait 18 hours for a return train. They might wait 48. The time spent waiting in that hotel room is unpaid. They are not on duty, but they are not free either. Going home is not an option. There is no way to plan the day around anything. They sit in that same room near a rail yard in a town that might be hundreds of miles from their family, watching their phone and waiting for a call that could come at any hour. And that is not even the part of the job that wears on the crews the most. If you have been enjoying this deep dive into the hidden world of freight railroading, consider subscribing. We cover stories like this every week, the kind of details about locomotives and railroad operations that other channels rarely touch. One engineer at BNSF, or Burlington Northern Santa Fe, the largest freight railroad in the United States, described his monthly routine in remarkably blunt terms. He estimated spending roughly 200 hours per month on the train, and another 200 hours in a hotel room. His summary of the job was 5 words: hotel, depot, home, hotel, depot. That cycle, repeated endlessly, is the modern freight railroader's version of what the caboose once provided. Only instead of a rolling home with a coal stove and family photos on the wall, it is a room at a budget chain hotel off an interstate exit, with a crew van waiting in the parking lot. But the hotel room isn't even the hardest part. The unpredictability compounds everything. Freight train crews don't have set schedules. The way it works on most railroads involves a board, essentially a list of all available crew members at a given terminal. As trains become available, crew management calls workers in the order they appear on that board. After a crew finishes a shift, their name drops to the bottom. Because trains are dispatched based on traffic flow rather than a fixed timetable, a conductor or engineer has no reliable way to predict when they'll be called next. They might get 2 hours of notice, they might get 90 minutes. The phone could ring at midnight, at noon, or at 4 in the morning, 3 days in a row. This on-call existence was a central issue in the freight rail labor dispute that brought the industry to the brink of a national strike in 2022. Workers across all 12 railroad unions said the same thing. The money wasn't the primary complaint. The quality of life was. One conductor's wife told a reporter that when her family asked in November whether her husband would be home for Christmas, her answer was always the same. She didn't know if he'd be home that night. What happens when that kind of exhaustion meets a 100-ton locomotive moving at 40 miles per hour? The consequences of fatigue in the system aren't hypothetical. In 2011, a BNSF freight train rear-ended a work train near Red Oak, Iowa, killing both crew members aboard. The National Transportation Safety Board found that the engineer had been asleep at the controls. In the week before the crash, he had worked 3 daytime shifts, taken 2 days off, then switched to a night shift. The accident occurred just after sunrise, when he had likely been awake for nearly 24 hours. An alerter alarm in the locomotive cab had sounded after 2 minutes of no engineer input. He disabled it reflexively, still asleep. The collision came 1 minute and 53 seconds later. The train he was driving was hauling coal. But freight trains also carry chlorine, ammonia, crude oil, and other hazardous materials. The stakes of fatigue extend well beyond the crew, and this brings up a question that the industry hasn't fully answered yet. How did the sleeping arrangements go from a dedicated space on the train itself to a budget hotel room 2 miles from the yard? Before the caboose disappeared, railroad bunkhouses served as another sleeping option at away terminals. These were railroad-owned dormitories built near rail yards, some dating back to the early 1900s. The Milwaukee Road Bunkhouse in South Cle Elum, Washington, built in 1909, originally held 28 bedrooms and served train crews until 1974. Buildings like it dotted division points from coast to coast. They were Spartan, sometimes noisy, and located right next to the tracks, but they belonged to the railroad community. A crew member walking through the door at 3 in the morning didn't need to explain what he was doing there. Everyone in the building was doing the same thing. When the bunkhouse era faded, the hotel contract system took its place. So what does it mean when the people responsible for moving 140,000 tons of freight every day across the country don't have a permanent place to rest at the far end of their run? Federal regulations now require that any sleeping quarters provided for train crew members must be clean, safe, and free from interruptions caused by noise under the railroad's control. The noise standard is specific, no more than 55 decibels over an 8-hour average. That rule exists because the old bunkhouses and the camp cars and trailers that sometimes replace them were notoriously loud. Yard operations, switching moves, and locomotive idling could rattle walls and break sleep cycles for hours. The modern hotel system is an improvement over the bunkhouse in most measurable ways. The rooms are climate-controlled, reasonably quiet, and stocked with basic amenities. But something intangible was lost in the transition. The caboose was yours. The bunkhouse was at least part of the railroad's own infrastructure, staffed by people who understood what a railroader needed after 12 hours on a train. A hotel room off the highway, shared with traveling salespeople and vacationing families, isn't any of those things. It's a room. And the person sleeping in it has no idea when they'll leave it. And so the cycle continues. A freight train rolls through the dark carrying 10,000 tons of cargo that the American economy depends on. 2 crew members run that train, watching signals, managing air brakes, communicating with dispatchers, monitoring speeds that change mile by mile. When their 12 hours are up, a van takes them to a hotel. They sleep or try to. The phone rings. They ride the van back to the yard. They climb into another locomotive cab and do it all over again, in the opposite direction. The caboose, with its cupola and coal stove and bunks, is displayed now in railroad museums and city parks from Maine to California. Hundreds of them survive as static exhibits, painted bright red, surrounded by informational plaques. Children climb through them on field trips. What those displays rarely explain is that the caboose was not just a piece of equipment. It was the last place on an American freight train where a crew member could lie down, close their eyes, and rest while the wheels kept turning underneath. That place doesn't exist anymore, and the people who run the trains are still figuring out what that means. If this kind of railroad history interests you, the video playing next goes deeper into a topic we only touched on today. Click it, and we will see you there.
Well, that was pretty damn interesting. Hey Dave, how's it going? Glad you're here. I had some minor issues with the stream, at least on my end. I don't know what affected you guys or not. It's fucking pouring outside. I don't know where the hell the rain came from, but here it is. Anyway, I still don't understand how it's cheaper for transportation, the driver, and motel costs than it is for a caboose. I'm not buying that one. So that's kind of messed up. I mean, you know. Of course, not half the time these companies, they don't really know what the hell they're doing anyway. So who knows? I'd like to see him come back, to be honest with you. You weren't interrupting anything, Dave. No big deal. So, anyway, that was an interesting video. Thanks again, Gerald Stewart, for that one, man. I was able to post it. And that was the only video I had for today. Yeah, it's possible, Tom. But it just hit, you know. I was in the red for about a half a minute. And on my phone I was showing it was locked up. So I don't know if it locked up for you guys or not. Jim, don't tell them or Randall will be out of work. That's right. Isn't he a driver for them? He drives the van back and forth, I think. I'm okay in there. I've got a minor leak right in the middle of the ceiling. But only in certain circumstances. If I get sideways rain that's coming from this way, well, that's true, Tom. It could have been. But anyway, if I get sideways rain, it hits the side of the shed and then leaks down behind it, and there's a small gap between the roof of the metal building from the wood building. I got to go up there and silicone seal the whole thing. So, It's always something, you know. But if that's the only problem, I figure I'm doing pretty good. Because I silicone like the doorway and all that. I've got no leaks there. I started out to actually had a couple of drips and solved that problem with silicone. So when I get a chance and when there's no rain one day, I'll get up on the ladder and run some silicone. Because I can go in 4 foot on each side and silicone the shit out of that, and that'll solve that problem. Anyone think it's hard to work on today? Penn Central was very bad. My dad worked for them, wasn't some bad wreck. Yeah, I'll bet. Well, luckily he survived them all. I don't know, like I said, you know, and there's been a lot of train wrecks. Not here so much, but over in Europe they've had like 2 or 3 of them just in the last few days. I don't know what the hell's going on over there. Now here we just have stupid people that, you know, run in front of the train and see if they can get hit. So, I don't know. Penn Central is actually fail central. Could be. You know, and once again, a lot of the problem is electronics. The train industry relies heavily on electronic signaling, messaging, you know. They've got track sets, all electronic. And it has been known to fuck up. So, you know, I mean, and this is the problem with technology as a whole. When technology gets to the point where it drives the vehicle for you, you stop looking out the window. And that's when shit happens. I don't give a damn how smart something is. I'll keep looking out the window and have one hand on the brake. Or foot or whatever the case may be, you know. Because a lot of times these things happen because of, you know, it's electronic error. Sometimes it's, you know, driver error, or in this case, engineer error. Tom said, Jim, did you hear about the 3 alligator attacks? One person was killed. Yeah, I did hear something about that. I don't think I read the whole story. Yeah, the animals are getting a little weird, too. There was a kid somewhere out west. I'm not sure where. He was attacked and killed by a buffalo. The buffalo just stampeded the kid. No one knows why. Yeah, just like in the movie Airplane. Well, you know, that's what I'm saying. I don't trust machines, man. You know. I don't care how smart a machine is. I like to think I'm a little bit smarter. So, you know. And then there was somebody that, some woman, I think that was here in Florida. She was mauled by 2 dogs. They killed her. I mean, the animals are going nuts. I don't know what the fuck's going on there, you know. I'm starting to think that maybe it is 5G or something in the air that's being transmitted to mess with the brains of all living beings, you know. I mean, the shootings are through the roof lately. It's bad. Maybe the kid was trying to tip the buffalo. The kid was only like 8 years old, so I don't think he was trying to tip the buffalo. But you never know. Bad day to give up glue sniffing. Yeah, there you go, right? I'm just saying, there's some weird shit going on, you know? Or maybe not. I don't, like I said, I don't know. But a lot of animals have been attacking people lately that normally don't. Yeah. So we'll have to just keep our eyes open and see what happens next. I had worked for Guilford and Pan Am Railways for their police. It was just as bad. Yeah, I believe it. Like I said, things are crazy these days, man. I don't know what the hell's going on. Who the hell knows, you know? So, let's see what else we got going on here. My desk is still somewhat of a mess. Not terrible. I still got to organize it and clean it up. I need to move some of these. I got wires all, plugs and shit. They're all over the place. Cables. I'm gonna have to get some way to tack them up on the wall out of the way where I don't see them. And I still want to build I want to build a shelf up over there for some of my models that I don't have a home for, and but I can't afford to do it this month. I pretty much buying that desk. I paid cash for that. That was $171 with sales tax. And that put a little bit of a hurting on my finances. But I figure it was a now or never deal, you know. Dave says they now have an invasion of African crocs in Florida. These are aggressive, fearless, and can run at 60 miles an hour for short distances. Well, how the hell did they get here? You know? Did we not learn from the other problem with, Africans? I was surprised that they're aggressive. We need to hunt them down and kill them then, if that's the case, if they're a problem, you know. So he said, how are all these things getting over here? I mean, I know how the snakes got here, because people were paying ridiculous money to buy them. And then when they got too big, or too expensive to feed, they just dumped them in the Everglades. They'll be fine. Dumbasses. Same thing with the frog. Well, actually, the state of Florida brought the cane toads in to solve another problem, which it didn't. Now we have a cane toad problem, and of course, they kill dogs and cats if, the dog or cat licks them. It's just some fucked up shit going on, man. The shit hit the fan damn hard, yeah, man. That's what I'm saying. I don't understand some of the problems. This is a basic problem of the whole country. We let things in. We let people in. We let animals in. We let reptiles in. We need to say, you know what? Nobody else is coming in. That's it. We're done. Anybody that does it, face some prison time. If it's an animal, it should be executed. I mean, what the fuck, man? I'm getting a little pissed off with all this bullshit, to be honest with you. That's just my opinion anyway, We have to clean up what we have here now, and yet the government and the country keep bringing more shit in. Andy goes, there goes my bucket list. What bucket list is that, Andy? I don't know. Generally, if I see a wild animal and I think it's a danger to me, I will shoot it and kill it. I don't care if it's protected or not, I'd rather face jail than the fucking, than a casket. So, if I see an alligator or a croc getting ready to charge me and I have my gun handy, well, I'm going to shoot that bastard. I'll do a mag dump on him, man. That don't kill him, I guess I'm screwed, but, Robin Obendorf. Hey, how you doing? Glad to meet you, man. Welcome to the live stream, where we talk about trains and just about everything else. So, you know, that's what I'm saying. I just don't understand it, why we're putting up with all this bullshit. Dave says they are man-eaters. There are two groups, and are driving the American crocs out of the area. They are identified by a wider stance between eyes and the rise up on all fours when running. Nice. I'm sure, are they here in Florida? I mean, this is basically, you know, gator country anyway. I mean, I haven't seen one up here yet in Sebring. I don't even think there are any up here. If they are, because we got lakes all over the place, and as far as I know, none of the lakes have them in them. So, hard telling. But, you know, like I said, that we need to take all this shit off the endangered list so we can freely dispose of them before they dispose of us. Yeah. I mean, they finally now you're allowed to shoot the brown bears or black bears rather, here in Florida, because before they were protected. You know, I've had a couple on my property where I had one attack my chickens, you know, kill a couple of them. If he hadn't done it in the middle of the night, I would have shot the bastard, but I was sound asleep when it happened. The only reason we knew, security cameras. So, you know, but fortunately the law now says that I can protect my property, my pets, and my family members, including my property, and I can shoot the black bear. So it's like, you know, and I wouldn't hesitate, you know. I'd probably have to bring the AK out for that, but, you know, I'm pretty sure you could drop one with a 45, but an AK-47 would do a much better job. So, when is open season on a damn Muslim? Not soon enough, unfortunately, or needs to be. Actually, there's a few groups on the list that we need open season on, and I'll leave it at that. But, you know, it's just getting ridiculous out there. You guys hear about that? Well, that was here in Florida, I think. A black woman shot and killed a white man over a parking spot at Walmart. There was video, and she's like, you know, waving the gun around. He wasn't a threat to her, at least he didn't appear to be. I don't know what the argument was about, whether he took a space that she wanted, or maybe she did that he wanted, who the hell knows, but she shoots and kills him. And now she's claiming self-defense. Fortunately, there's video, there was surveillance video of the whole thing. It didn't look like self-defense to me. You know, and I guess since the other kid there, Carmelo, he tried to pull the self-defense strategy, they're all going to do it now. You know. Not all blacks are bad, so don't get me wrong. But the ones that are a real problem. And they need to be dealt with. I hope she gets, you know, I hope she gets a death penalty for that, because she should get the death penalty for it. Yeah, he didn't have a weapon. They were probably about the same physical size. And it doesn't seem like, you know, he was doing any aggressive moves toward her. But she had that gun out real quick, you know. So. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. So, I personally think the race war has begun. It just hasn't been openly declared yet. And there was some white guy ran over a black woman multiple times, so you know he did it on purpose. He's probably screwed, but you know. And that's what you're going to see. You're going to see each side getting revenge on the other. Never going to stop until one gets wiped out over the other. Well, we outnumber the blacks, so you know they're screwed. But it's unfortunate because, like I said, there's a lot of good blacks out there, and excuse me, they're going to get caught up in this shit, and it's not good and it ain't right. But you know, and it's funny because I'm seeing a lot of blacks now are sticking with the whites. They're basically saying, "Hey, look, you know, that brother, he ain't doing right, you know, and he should be killed for it." And that you never heard before, you know, because usually they stick together, and you could do no wrong if you're a brother. But I think they're drawing a line in the sand now, saying, no, we don't want to be associated with the hood rats, you know. And I have to agree with them. I'll have to wait and see what happens, but like I said, it's just getting crazy out there. You know, I don't even need a carry permit anymore because Florida did away with the permits, but I still have my permit. And I haven't carried in a while now because I just didn't feel the need to, but I'm starting to rethink that strategy. You know, I may start carrying everywhere I go again. I was for a while. It's kind of a nuisance, unfortunately. Especially when you got a 45, you know, 1911. It's a heavy gun to carry around, even the shoulder holster. And I'm too fat really to, you know, do an inside the waistband thing, so the shoulder holster is really the only way to do it. Now, we have open carry in Florida too, but I'm not ready to do open carry yet, so. Yes, it was. If you'd have been here earlier, I know you couldn't be, but 15 minutes before the show starts, I got 4 new cameras up and I run the trains for 15 minutes. So they were up and running. I've got them shut down now, but so next week, if you want, tune in at 5:45 on Thursday and you'll get to see the trains run. I wound up having to buy a new power supply. The old one went bad, and I had the original one that I bought. It was on its way out. It finally let go, so I just went ahead and said, yeah, I'm just going to buy a new one. Hey, Waycrest Train Spotter, Scott, how you doing? Hi, Jim. Been hot in South Georgia, too hot to video trains outside, except early morning before sunrise. Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, the weather's brutal, man. It's only going to get worse for a few days. So I got the power supply situated, done, and I got I don't know if you were here earlier, I don't know how long you've been on vacation, but the printer room is now finished officially, you know, the shed, and yesterday I bought a new workbench for over here. This is going to be my new work area, so and I've got it almost set up the way I want it. Had to have a bath. I was smelling right. TMI there, Andy. TMI. But I hear you. So things are coming. Things are starting to come together. Like I said, hopefully, I think the next thing I want to do, I want to get the motor man installed, so I could run the overhead rail system, the passenger train back and forth. So that'll be automatic, so I don't have to fool with it. So chances are I'm probably going to start messing with that next week. We'll see. Scott says, yesterday morning I videoed CSX 250 and 2026 took photos. Cool. We've been getting a lot of train traffic behind my house. They usually come, 9:30 in the morning. The Sugar Line does. But I think CSX has been running at night. They've come through like 11 o'clock to 12 o'clock at night. Sometimes 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. You know. And they're long trains. That's why I figured it's got to be CSX, because, you know, you hear the rumbling for like 2 or 3 minutes. So, because before, the only time CSX ran was when the Sugar Line was closed for the season, which was like a month. They shut down, and the CSX would run during the day in place of the Sugar Line. Like I said, here lately they've been running at night, and I'm reasonably sure it's CSX. You know, I'm not getting out of bed and going outside at midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning to see what train it is. I probably ought to set up a camera out there, you know, and run it 24/7. And I could just review the footage and say, oh, okay, it's CSX. But they don't generally blow the horns that late at night, you know, for the crossing, because they're not supposed to. And they sound a little different than the Sugar Line, you know, because CSX runs the 6-axle locos, the big ones like the AC-44 stuff like that. It's a larger loco, where the Sugar Line doesn't have anything. The Sugar Line's running SD-45s, SD-40s, that's about it now. And you could tell the difference in the way they sound, the engine sound, and it's a heavier train, because like I said, it can, you know, it vibrates the house just a little bit, you know, when CSX comes through. So, and like I said, I can lay there, and if I'm not asleep yet, it'll, you know, it's like, oh, there's a train, and it just rumbles and rumbles and rumbles, and, you know, sometimes 5 or 10 minutes it's rumbling. So probably like a 2 or 3 mile long train, you know. They don't go very fast. I don't think they're allowed to, but for a residential area, but it's unusual. I mean, that doesn't bother me any. I've gotten used to it, you know. And if I'm asleep, it won't wake me up. Andy says, Waycross, luckily it's cooling down now in the UK. Well, I don't know. Are you going to have, how long is the heat going to last over Europe? I know you got it before us, I think. And it's only supposed to last like a week. At least that's what they're telling us here anyway. So yeah, you guys might be, it might be on its way out for you guys, but here we're just getting into it. NMLRA convention is next month in Chattanooga, Tennessee, but not going to it. Yeah, I don't blame you. I've been lately. I've been working my ass off, man. You know, between here and, you know, running around buying things. And yeah, I went to Harbor Freight to get this workbench, you know. And the woman working there, she was kind of a rude cunt, man. You know, I go in there, I grab the, because they have one built in the back, you know, back of the store. And I can't lift the package anyway. That thing weighs close to 200 pounds. Yeah, that's rain you hear. And it's showing on the computer it's mostly sunny. They can't get nothing right. Look out the fucking window, you know? Idiots. So, yeah, it's rain. It's rain, Scott. So I get the little, you know, little piece of paper that you're supposed to pick up and hand it to the register, right? So there was 2 pieces there, so I grabbed them both, you know. I thought maybe I tore it in half or something. So I bring it up there and you're only supposed to bring me the one thing, not both of them. I said, well, so, you know, we'll put it back. I don't think she liked my answer, but I honestly didn't know. It's like, you know, bitch, why are you being so rude to me, you know? I get ready to blow almost $200 and you're giving me a bunch of shit over a fucking piece of paper? What the fuck? So, just we're going to have to wait because I don't even know if we have them in stock. Take your time. You know, I'm not in a hurry. So I'm standing off to the side. 2 more people go, you know, pay for their stuff. So she finally says, well, it's coming up. It'll be here in a minute. That's fine. Yeah. Well, you want to pay for it now? Yeah, I guess. I put my debit card in there. I paid for it, you know. After I gave her the number, I had to repeat it twice because she's obviously, you know, had shit in her ears and couldn't hear very well. And I don't whisper when I talk to people. I'm relatively loud, you know. So it wasn't that I wasn't speaking up anything. She hands me a receipt. Do you need a receipt? And I'm going, well, yeah. Yeah. She hands me the receipt. And here comes the desk. I say, yeah, you can put it out in the truck over here, you know. The white pickup outside. Okay. And she looked at the guy. You know, he's an employee there. Like he wasn't supposed to do it. And I'm going, well, I can't do it, you know. I'm going to have to take it out of the box piece by piece just to get it, which is what I had to do because I couldn't lift the box. And it's like, what the fuck's wrong with these people, you know? Hey, if I were her boss, I'd have fired her on the spot. Fucking idiots, I'm telling you, everywhere. My watch hours on YouTube keep dropping. Don't know why. Keep going down. Was not at all going up at all. Well, that could be because they're manipulating things. I haven't even looked at mine lately, but I don't even care anymore. Tom says, Andy, 95 now where I'm now. Yeah, it's still hot. It's showing 86 here, but it's also showing mostly sunny. I don't know what the real temperature is outside. Derek says, Scott, maybe it's because it's summer and some people are on vacation chasing big boy. Well, that's possible too, but you know, these between YouTube and even Rumble now is jumping on the bandwagon. They're screwing the little guys over. They're only taking care of, you know, the high-end people. So I guess it's about money when it comes down to it. Who knows? Andy says, Thomas, it will be 80% humidity with it. That done me in. Yeah, that'll do it too. Oh, let me stick my head out the door here and see what the hell is going on. Yeah. It's not raining that hard. It's actually almost a drizzle. Jim, all I know is I am generating tons of power now. Oh yeah, I'll bet you are. With your solar cells, hell yeah. Bet you they're working at 150%, right? Like I said, I'm going to start using some solar tech on a smaller level. I'm going to do what the Amish people, they said, I was reading that, actually was watching a YouTube video. Said the Amish use solar technology to power things like little refrigerators, deep freezers, certain equipment that they need, like mixers and stuff. But they're smart. Instead of doing a whole house setup, they'll have, you know, a couple 100 watts worth of solar cells, a battery, an inverter and shit, and they'll run one piece of equipment with just that alone. So I was thinking that makes a lot of sense. I think I'm going to do the same thing. So I'm going to go ahead and probably the first thing I want to do is, because this is hurricane season, even though I don't expect any hurricanes, is set one up for my deep freezer, which I keep in the garage, so that'll be a piece of cake. I'm not going to mount the solar panels up on the roof, but I'll have them like as a, what do you call them? Can't think what it's called now. I like a shutter that I could adjust to they hit the sunlight, because I'll put it in the back of the house where I get sun through most of the day. This month's electric bill was $4.27. Trade ya! I just paid mine today. $268.47. Which still isn't terrible, but you know, I mean, it's before I got the mini splits and I was running the central, it was running close to $500 a month in the summer. So I'm saving a ton of money with the mini splits. So I'm able to. The Amish are finding loopholes in the laws of solar is now not electric. That's true. Yeah, they're smart people. They really are. I met them in Pennsylvania when I was a teenager, actually, and they're very interesting people. I couldn't live like that, but I mean, if I had to, I could, but I wouldn't choose to. So I'm going to start with the freezer. They want to set one up for the living room air conditioner because it's 110 volt. It plugs into the wall. So I could set that. And we only run it during the day anyway, as a rule, you know, and for a few hours at night. So I could run like a twin battery pack and maybe a 400 watt solar cell. Or 400 watts worth of solar. An inverter and all that shit, and run that pretty much all day long for free, and a few hours at night for free as well. And if it does go dead, I'll just unplug it, plug it into the wall, you know. So that'll be the second thing to be done. The third thing will be the well pump. I want to change out the well pump because it's 220 now. You know, I was looking at, and it's one of the ones that go down in the well. They make 110 volt, or so I'm going to get one of those. Set up the solar cell for that. So, as I said, starting next year probably, because I don't know if I can really afford to do any of it this year, but, you know. It just seems like a smart move. And then from there, who knows? I might set one up for the big fridge, but that eats a lot more electricity and a lot more wattage than actually the deep freezer does, so I don't know. But the deep freezer is important because that's where I keep all my meat. You know. And I don't care about lighting too much. I mean, I got flashlights, so if we lost power, I can live by flashlight or candle. It's not a big deal. 220 is actually more efficient than 110, but it's harder to generate 220 with solar. I mean, it can be done, but it's harder to do, so 120 is more effective. So that's why I'm going to stick with the 110 volt stuff. Chuck says, Tom, with all this heat, you're going to break $6 next month. Yeah, maybe. Actually, I believe it does, Derek. He said that he doesn't hardly pay hardly anything as a light bill. It's a whole house setup, so I don't really want a whole house setup, and I can understand why the Amish won't do it, because if something happens, you lose all your power. Where this way, if a solar cell gets damaged somehow, or an inverter blows up, or your battery dies, you're only losing one device, at a time. So the chances of 4 devices on 4 separate power systems going bad simultaneously is literally astronomical. Not going to happen. So it actually makes more sense to do it that way. And it's cheaper. I haven't looked lately, but I know a few months ago I was looking at solar cells. And I think Amazon had 200 watters for around, it was less than $300, which isn't bad. The batteries, depending upon how big a one you want and how many amp hours it has, they can go anywhere from $100 to $600. So, But I would have to figure out. And inverters are relatively cheap. And the charge controllers, I think I already have one. And they're like, you can get one for 20, 30 bucks, you know. Well, that might be true with the old ones, Derek. When I was in Indiana, they have the Dutch. Well, they're Amish there, in Warsaw, Indiana, anyway. And it was interesting because they were running the mail, you know, there. And what they would do is they would have a car, an actual car, and they just had to paint everything black except for the lights and the mirror. They weren't allowed to paint those, but the whole car had to be black, no chrome or anything. They'd paint the wheels, if it had hubcaps, they'd paint those black. And they drove those to deliver the mail. And then the women, which some of them are pretty damn good looking too, by the way. They used to go hang out at the laundromat twice a week. And if you didn't mind a shotgun wedding afterwards, you could have fun with any number of them, you know. And they were open to it because they were like, you know, I remember going to the laundromat with my sister when I was up there, and, you know, all these really good-looking women were up there, Amish women, you know. And my sister says, you know, don't mess with them because if you get caught, it's shotgun wedding time. I said, you serious? She said, oh, yeah, they just don't do that here. I said, oh, that's good to know, you know. I don't care how good they are. I don't want to marry any of them. But, you know, they'd flirt with me and everything else. I mean, it was really weird, you know. They were very open. I mean, it's supposed to be against their beliefs. But yet, here we are, you know, so. So I think as time progresses, they've found ways. I mean, they still don't use phones as far as I know. They don't have whole house electrical setups. I said some of the more modern ones are using solar tech. I guess they figure it's okay because they're in control of it, you know. When you have electric turned on in your house, you're not in control of that electric. I mean, you're responsible for the bill, but somebody else is actually providing it for you. And I think that's where they have their problem at, that, you know, they want to be in control of their own tech. Tom says, Derek, my entire home is covered. I have an app on my phone. I am showing power from the panels and not from the grid. Well, no, in this heat, no, you ain't going to need any grid power. Matter of fact, you should be overproducing and probably be selling them a bunch. All right, John, thanks for popping in, man, and enjoy your birthday. And we'll see you next week. Have a fun and interesting weekend. Be safe, and we'll see you then. Good night to you. Oh, and happy 4th, by the way. So, like I said, I wasn't real thrilled about going solar either, but I have a big generator. My generator is big enough to run the whole house if I was actually wired into the house, but that costs money to get that done, and I really haven't had the money to do it. But the problem with the generator, of course, is fuel. You know. And like I said, I've got mine. I think it's peak 15,000 watt, 15 kW. Its average is 12 kW, so you know, it's a big generator, and it does suck up some gas. It'll go through 6 gallons, I think, in 8 hours. What happens on the 4th? Well, it depends. For America, it's our 250th birthday since we became a nation. Normally, we have fireworks. I don't know if we will this year or not. Some places will. I'm sure some places won't. And hopefully nobody gets stupid and does anything, you know, stupid. Although you never know. So, Yeah, I said, plus I couldn't afford to go all out solar system either. So, but I got to, after watching that video, I'm thinking, well, that makes sense. My neighbor, he's got 200 watt, he's got two solar cells, they're 100 watt each. He mounted them on the back of his roof, and he's powering a deep freezer and a mini fridge with it. He says he doesn't need electricity, and the battery's enough. One battery will power both units for 2 days without any input from the solar cell. And of course, you're not going to go 2 days without sun, so he's doing pretty good. So I saw that, I'm going, well, shit, maybe I should think about the same thing, Like I said, the last time we had a hurricane come through, it knocked power out for, I think we had no power for 3 days. And I bought 45 gallons of gas. It wasn't terribly expensive. I think it was like, around $3 a gallon at the time, or $2.80 or something like that. It was, not cheap, but not terribly expensive. But that shit adds up, man. And I was only running the generator during the day. I'd shut it down at night so I wouldn't, because they're loud and I didn't want to really bother my neighbors. As a matter of fact, my neighbor down the street, across the street actually, he ran his all night and all day, and I could still hear it. And it was, 200 or 300 yards away, so I don't know. Mom and Son's Train Rail fans, Tammy and Ray, how y'all doing? And I haven't heard from you guys in forever. How y'all doing? Doing good? Hopefully. So, yeah, I'm going to do it, though. I think it's just a smart move right now, Same thing with food, I argue with my wife because she doesn't like the idea that I buy surplus food. And I'm not talking about the freeze dry. I mean, I got some of that too, but I buy, non-perishables that I'll keep in a cool room. And she says, why are you stockpiling food? I said, because, there's only 3 days worth of food on the shelves anywhere in the country at any given time. Remember when COVID hit, the shelves started getting empty. There were things you couldn't buy anymore, like toilet paper or some other things that people were hoarding, bread, stuff like that. All right, Andy. So I said, this is for things like that. If something happens, the supply chain drops off for whatever reason, truckers decide to go on strike again, or who knows what the fuck will happen, I said, and you can't get food, you'll be thanking me for stockpiling food, And I got about a year's worth. And I'd like to have more because to me, you never have enough. And it won't go bad because it's non-perishable, Any canned goods will last 100 years or better. I won't last that long. So, Same thing with medications. I have probably a 3-year supply of insulin. Granted, it's only good for 2 years, but I don't believe that it'll actually go bad. I think they tell you that to keep you to rotate them, because see what they did in California? They banned the Best By dates at all the grocery stores to conserve food. Now, some things you shouldn't let get past the date, but most things, they're good for a long time as long as you keep them refrigerated if they need it, or if they're canned goods, like I said, to last 100 years. If you buy a can of peas, for example, that can of peas will last 100 fucking years. Even though there's a Best By date on it, eat this before, and they usually give you a 2-year, 3-year window where you can, and after that you're supposed to get rid of it. It doesn't go bad. As long as the can isn't damaged, it's fine to eat. And there's a lot of waste involved. People throw away food. Well, this is out of date. They throw it away. That's money you worked for, and now you're throwing it in the garbage. That doesn't even make sense, Like I said, there's some things that, peanut butter could go rancid. don't eat peanut butter after the date. I wouldn't. Pancake mix can kill you after the date, supposedly. I don't know. Twinkies last forever. Although, I haven't had a Twinkie in probably 30 years. Last time I had one, they were so disgusting that I threw it away, you know. I don't know what the hell they're using for filling, but it ain't real anymore, you know. And some people actually fry Twinkies. I don't know why you would do that, but, you know. But people fry peanuts too, you know, or boil peanuts. I bought a bag of boiled peanuts once. A few years ago. It was up here. I'd never had them before, and they were, you know, it was a couple of dollars. I said, yeah, I'll buy a bag. Those things were disgusting. It's like soggy peanuts, man. And it's like, why would you do this, you know? But what the hell do I know? I mean, but that's what you should do. I mean, it's your food. You should probably see what you know, how long you can have it, you know. I can say I never eat a Twinkie. You're not missing anything yet, Tom. They're disgusting. When I was a kid, they had Twinkies and they were good because they used real filling. You know, it's like the Yodels. I can't even remember half of them now, but they were good food. They still sell that shit today, but you don't know what the fuck's in it. And it doesn't taste that good. Stock up on McDonald's French fries. Not me. I won't eat at McDonald's if it was the last food on the planet. And by the way, they're using genetically modified organisms in all their potatoes. I bought a bag of French fries from the store. I think it was it Winn-Dixie or was it Publix? No, it was Publix. And it was an off-brand. It was on sale. So, yeah, I'll grab it. It was a big 5-pound bag of crinkle-cut fries, you know. So I brought them home and told Deb, I said, go ahead and make some fries, you know, because we have fries on Friday sometimes. And I said, it was Friday. I said, I might as well make some fries, you know. And she made them, and I ate a couple of them. I go, what the fuck is wrong with these things? You know, they had a nasty aftertaste in them. So I said, Deb, let me see that bag, you know. I put my glasses on, I'm looking at them, it's a GMO right on it. You know, you can throw these in the garbage. And I did, because I won't eat GMO food. Because basically, they splice food with Roundup. You know, glyphosate. I'm not eating glyphosate, man. It ain't happened. Or glyphosate, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but I'm not eating weed killer, you know. Why would you splice that into food you're going to ingest? And so now I'm very careful. If there's an off-brand, because by law they have to put if it's GMO on it. And I found out McDonald's, and I think Burger King too does, is GMO on their fries. I won't eat there. We eat at Culver's a lot. You know, we like Culver's. Real burgers, real fries. Good stuff. It's actually a little cheaper than McDonald's, believe it or not. We can get to, Deb actually took me there the other day. It was her turn to buy. And I got my double butter cheeseburger. She got the single butter cheeseburger. We got the meal, so you get a big bag of fries with it, each one, and a medium-sized drink. You know, so I got a Coke, and I think she got a root beer or something. It was $23. You go to McDonald's, I think it's like $25 for a similar meal. And you don't know what the fuck you're getting at McDonald's. Up, you know, you're getting worm burgers. Because they do use worms in their burgers. Supposed to bring up the nutritional value of the meat. I'll pass, thank you. So, you know. But that's just me. I mean, some people like that shit, man. Hell, Trump likes McDonald's. I don't know how he's still alive. But, yeah, apparently he's immune to it. But it's a good thing. I mean, you know, and that's it. My grandparents stockpiled food. You know, my dad used to stockpile food, not like I do, but, you know, he lived up, you know, we lived in Jersey. That's where I was born. And before I was born, I guess he said they had a big blizzard there. It was 1955 or 1956, somewhere around there. I was born in 59. And there were 6-foot drifts. You couldn't get out of the house. The snow was over the doors. And he says if you didn't have food, you know, they were trapped in the house for like a week till the snow melted. So, of course, they all had cellars up there, too, which was nice. It was a nice, cool area. They kept, you know, all kinds of food down there. So they didn't have to worry about it. Here in Florida, nobody stockpiles anything because we'll just go to the store and get more food. What if they don't have any? Derek says, I peel and slice or dice sweet potatoes and roast them with olive oil. Very tasty. That sounds good to me. I don't really do sweet potatoes, but it seems like that'd be a good way to, you know, to cook them. So, I mean, it just makes sense to, you know, to have a little, even if you only had a week's supply of food. At least you won't starve to death. I mean, unless, of course, like you said, something happens. But, you know, people today, they just assume that, you know, well, somebody, it wasn't not money I know, it was secondhand information, but, you know, somebody said, yeah, I had a friend, she didn't know where the food came from. She says, you know, if I want to buy steak, I just go to the store where they make it. She goes, you know, steak is made from cows, right? She goes, no, they make it at the store. I mean, some of these people are fucking dumber than a box of rocks, man. You know. So, you know, a lot of them say, well, I'll just go to the store and buy more food when I run out. Well, that's assuming it's there. You know. Anything could happen, whether it's a war scare or natural disaster or something like I said, the supply chain drops off for whatever reason. Those shelves will be emptied inside of a day, maybe sooner. People panic, they'll panic buy. I remember down in Naples years ago, the hurricane it was supposed to hit, it never really did. We got to like the edge of it. People panicked. I went to the store to get a loaf of bread because I was going to be out of bread. Just one loaf, that's all I needed. I couldn't find any. So I'm walking down the other aisle and there's these two guys. They're ready to throw fists over fucking toilet paper. One guy's got his whole cart full of toilet paper. The other guy just said, dude, I need just one pack, you know. So I actually got in between. I said, look, what the fuck's wrong with you idiots? How long do you think you're going to be out of ass wipes, you know? As even if power goes out and all hell breaks loose, they'll be bringing in supplies inside of a day or two. So if you got 3 days worth of toilet paper, you'll be fine. You got enough there for a fucking year. You know. And the guy he was a real dick, you know. I said, look, you're going to give him at least one pack. Either you're going to give it to him or I'm going to take it and give it to him either way. But he's still going to get it. So, you know, there's no reason for you to be a hoarder. You got 15 fucking rolls, 15 packages, I should say, of toilet paper. Nothing other really for a year. Do you think you're going to be out of ass wipes for a whole year? It ain't going to happen. And if it does, that's going to be the least of your problems. You know. So he reluctantly gave the guy, you know, one pack of fucking, you know, toilet paper, and the other guy thanked me. I said, oh, dude, just go buy your stuff and get out of here, you know. You know, what the hell is wrong with people? I really don't. Hey, Floyd, how's it going, man? Good to see you here. Yeah, and you're right, Derek. COVID really was a wake-up call in a lot of different ways. But and that's the problem. People still hoard, you know. I've never hoarded anything in my life. I'll buy what I need, you know, like I said, during COVID, I really didn't have a problem with anything. We had we were buying toilet paper. We stockpiled it, sort of. I was getting it from Sam's Club before COVID hit, and I would buy two 48 packs a month. So I'd always have some left over. So when COVID did come and you couldn't find toilet paper, we had like 100 fucking rolls, Because, the two of us, we go through a bit of paper, but until I got the bidet, and I don't hardly use any. But, yeah, and that's another thing. If you're that fucking worried about wiping your ass, buy a fucking bidet. You won't need any paper. As long as you got running water, you're good to go, So, I mean, what the fuck? Oh, he needed all that TP because he's a big ass. Yeah, it could be. He really was, too. I mean, I just... And people were doing that with everything. People were buying eggs, 30, 40, 50 dozen eggs. And it's like, they'll go bad before you can eat all those. Oh, they won't. Yeah, they will. How are you going to refrigerate 40 dozen eggs? We don't have to refrigerate them, do you? Well, you took them out of the refrigerator. Unless the chicken lays them. And once they're washed, you have to refrigerate them. Hey, Train Man, how's it going, man? Good to see you here. I just used my fingers. I mean, if you had to, you would, Or find a hose or something, Fucking grease rag and, just wash it. I guess that's what they used to do before toilet paper was invented. Toilet paper is a fairly new invention, believe it or not. So I guess they probably used a rag, a wet rag before that, just washed it out. Out to the grass and scoot with the doggy. There you go. You still have to dry your ass after well, no, the bidets come with blowers on them. Mine does. So after it washes your ass, it dries it off with hot air. And things are nice, man. I only paid $200 for mine. They have better ones. The only bitch I got about mine is, and it's kind of a weird thing to talk about, but because of my neuropathy, because of diabetes, I can't always feel where things are hitting. And you got to make sure, because you can adjust it to hit your asshole, because that's where you want it, obviously. So a lot of times I have to really think about it. Where is it hitting? Sometimes it's too far forward, sometimes too far back. The better ones actually, I can't think of the word for it, they go back and forth. So it catches your whole ass, the whole crack. Mine doesn't do that. I wish it did. Was that reciprocate? Yeah, it reciprocates. Mine doesn't do that. But, the more expensive ones do. If I got a $300 one, it does. Those things are really nice. And it's warm. It's got a heated seat. Warm water. You can adjust the temperature of the water. You can adjust the temperature of the blower. I think it's pretty damn nice, man. Saves me a ton on toilet paper, so... and it's actually cleaner and more hygienic. But you got to be careful, because you can also change the force of the water. When I first started, I had it turned up all the way. Holy shit, so I wonder it didn't rip me a new asshole. I mean, it was like, putting a pressure washer on your ass. And you could tell, because it's a little painful, so I had to back it down to like number 2 out of 5. For water pressure, because, it's okay, we have brown curtains on. There you go. Yeah, but that wouldn't last long. Remember the little commercial on TV? How you know if a brown towel is clean? It was for some laundry detergent. And some guy asked me, well, how do you know if your brown towel is actually clean? Yeah. Well, I guess if they don't smell, they're clean, right? Used to use leaves, but too many people got poison oak or ivy. Yeah, that could happen. Imagine getting poison oak on your asshole. Oh, that would be painful, sort of. Or itchy, painful. Both. Who cleans the shit pieces out of the bidet How do you sit on it with no, there's a seat. It bolts right onto the toilet. It's an add-on. And basically it's a toilet seat with a movable jet on it. And like I said, mine has an air blower in there too. So you take the old seat off and you put this one on. It's a regular seat and it's got a cover, and it's just like a regular seat, except that there's electronics in it. Mine's electric. They make non-electric ones, but you can't adjust the water on them. You know, as far as the temperature goes. The electric ones, you can actually get heated water. And like I said, when you sit on the seat's warm. You know. Really nice. It's pretty nice shit, man. And they're self-cleaning, so you don't have to worry about that. So they say multicolored 3D printers are really for making toys. You can make anything you want out of it. Like I said, I made this for Thomas, Spike Man. For most of you probably don't know what this is. This is a reverser handle for a locomotive. And it's in 2 pieces. That was the way it had to be printed, but once you figure out the right length, you glue it. Well, they're actually showing this in 3 colors. They have the knurled part of the handle black. The metal part of the handle is orange. And the key part is red. Now, you could use your own colors, but so if you had an AMS or multicolor printing capability, you could print this in whatever color you wanted. I didn't buy an AMS with my Bamboo Labs. Looking back, I should have. It was only $100 more. If I want to get one now, it'll cost me $200. So it would have been cheaper to get it with the printer. But I'm probably not gonna buy one. I mean, I might. You never know. I'll buy the unit because I don't know if I want to get a second printer or not. So maybe next year I'll just buy an AMS unit. It's $200, big deal. Buy it, put it on this one, and we're good to go. Well, if you live in California or New York, you'll be lucky if you're allowed to make toys with the damn things. They're trying to basically ban 3D printing in the name of ghost guns, It's really about control, and I think a lot of companies are probably complaining because you can make a lot of shit yourself rather than buy their expensive garbage, I said I have a drill press, a benchtop drill press, and there's a depth gauge on it, for drilling that you can set. And the plastic piece that holds the threaded rod with the indicator on it, well, that plastic piece disintegrated because it was old, dry rotted. I could have probably got another one for around $20. Instead, I designed and printed one for probably 50 cents, if even. Didn't take much for, filament. And it works just as good, and it probably lasts 10 times longer. So I just cheated the company out of, selling a part that they'd bend me over on. But I don't have a problem with it, because you know what? Lower the prices on your shit, I wouldn't have to print my own. It's like train cars. We talked about rolling stock. You could print rolling stock with most 3D printers. Gotta sneeze at least once during every show. And you could print like a boxcar, for example, for $1 probably. Of course, you'll have to spend money on the wheels and the couplers, but you could print your own trucks. You could actually even print your own coupler boxes, although I wouldn't recommend it. The Katie ones are much more precise. So probably for less than $8, you could put together a boxcar. Thank you, Derek. Thank you, Floyd. So, why would you pay $30, $40, $70, $80 for a boxcar from some company when you could print your own for $8 or less? And flat cars are probably $2 or $3, you know. And the sky's the limit. What tankers, you can make anything you want, as long as you have the file for it, or you can design your own, you know. And I'm sure I saw this coming. I might have even talked about it a couple of years ago on the show, that eventually they're going to get pissed off and they're going to start, you know, trying to limit your ability to print your own shit, because it's going to eat into their profits. Well, they're betting us over anyway. How do you justify charging $80 for a boxcar, and some of them are that expensive, even for HO, when you could print one that's almost as good as the one you buy for less than $8? You know. And if you wanted to, you could even have a highly detailed one. You could separately, you know, print ladders, brake wheels, doors. You know, the sky's the limit on what you can do. It's, you know, how talented you may be on a CAD program. You could design your own shit, you know. So, and they've got nobody to blame but themselves, because they got greedy. If I could make one for $8, they could probably make one for $4 and still make a profit, because they're printing thousands at a time. I'm only doing one or two at a time. So tell me who's in the wrong here, you know. All right, Andy, have a good one, man. Thanks a lot, and have a good evening, and safe and fun weekend, and we'll see you next week. And hope you recover from your vacation, because I know sometimes you need a vacation from the vacation. Anyway, have a good one, man. Thanks for popping in. So, you know, it just doesn't make sense. And like I said, I'm not real particular about my rolling stock. I don't want anything that looks like a toy, but, you know, like I said, if I really want to get crazy, and I could create a highly detailed box car, gondola, flat car, with anything, you know, with, like I said, separately applied ladders and shit like that, steps, whatever, and still save a ton of money. So why wouldn't I, you know? But yeah, so I think all this is really coming down to, you know, they're using guns as the catalyst for wanting to control them or even regulate them, but I think at the end of the day it's got nothing to do with guns. How many people are printing 3D guns? You know, 1 out of 100,000 maybe? You know, I wouldn't even bother, because like I said, you could make the frame out of plastic, but it's still not going to be as good as a real gun. You still have to have a steel barrel. I'm still waiting, Big Jim. You still need a steel barrel. You still need a steel slide. You're going to need, you know, a trigger group, metal springs. You can't make that shit out of plastic. You know, it won't be reliable. I mean, I know that, you know, they made a couple of guns. What's that one called? The Liberator. It's a 22 caliber single shot. You know, and after 3 or 4 rounds you put through it, the gun was garbage. It wasn't that accurate, and I'd still be afraid of the fucking thing blowing up in my face. You know. And I don't see that as a problem. If I want to make a gun, I could take a piece of pipe, a spring, a piece of metal for a hammer. You know, I could make a zip gun, man. They're easy to make. Wouldn't be terribly accurate, but they're usually close quarters weapons anyway. Get up behind the guy, boom, you pop him, he's dead, you move on. I mean, well, exactly, you're going to need the firing pin. That can't be plastic either. And then there's still a lot of parts that have to be metal, you know. And of course, remember that lie, well, it's like when the Glocks go, well, they're plastic guns, they can pass through metal detectors. No, they can't, you know. First off, the ammunition is metal. and they still have a steel barrel in them. Yeah, the frame is, plastic of sorts or whatever they're making out of. Some type of plastic, but it would still, a metal detector would still get set off with it because there's metal in it, And if you're that afraid of getting your head, blown off, maybe you need to move to like a communist country where, guns aren't allowed. And they probably still have them there anyway. So, I think it's bullshit, they're just using the guns as a catalyst. I think the big picture is that everybody, and I mean everybody, is complaining that we can print anything that they produce and sell at ridiculous prices. We could print those same objects for a fraction of the price, and we're taking away business. So, we don't compete in this country anymore. We eliminate, You got a competitor, well, let's take them out, We're not going to compete with them. We're just going to get rid of them. And that's what they're doing, or trying to do. And it doesn't even apply just to 3D printers. It applies to anything. A metal lathe, a CNC machine, laser cutters. All those machines are under that blanket of they want to control because you can make products with it. If you have a CNC machine, yes, you could produce a workable weapon with it. It seems to me to just go buy one and be done with it, It's like an airplane, You could build your own plane and fly it, but would you? I wouldn't. I want one that somebody else built. It's been checked over. It's actually flight worthy. Anything I build, I might have fucked up and, I'm not going to go up there and test it. Screw that. Well, thanks, Chuck. I think I'm right, It's all about, they don't want you making your own stuff. It's the same thing. They're trying to get a law passed. Fortunately, Trump just told them, the CEO of Ford, I can't remember that idiot's name, but he actually went and talked to President Trump and asked Trump to sign a legislation that would prevent you from working on your own car. So you'd be forced to take it back to the dealer. And Trump looked at him and says, we don't do that in this country. If you bought it and you paid for it, you own it, you can do what the hell you want with it. You want to work on it, fine. If you want to blow it up, that's fine. We don't care, We can't force people to take their car back to the dealer every time, it needs something. Because you know what would happen, right? If there was a law that said you have to take your car back to the dealer for repairs, $100 repair would be now $1,000 repair. They'd be able to charge you whatever they want because you'd have no choice. Because they're not going to. They just say the car insurance. When I first started driving in 1976, was it? I think. Car insurance wasn't mandatory. It was optional. I never had it. I didn't get it until I was forced to get it by the government. I drove for many years without insurance. Never had a problem. It was always in the back of my mind. You're not insured, so yeah. Jim Farley, that's who. He's an asshole. So, I was careful, but I still drove like a nutcase, but at least I was careful about it, because if I'd have gotten a wreck or something, there was no way I could, I couldn't pay for it. They'd probably lock my ass up. Take away everything I'd ever owned for the next 20 years. But car insurance was cheap. Back then, you could have got full coverage for around $30 a year. Full coverage. So then they come up, I think it was in 79 or 80, I think. They mandated it. I know it wasn't all that long afterwards, because I drove for, I don't think I got insurance until I was like 21, 22. I started driving somewhat legally at 15. Well, actually, I was driving long before that, but actually I had a driver's license from 15 on. So they says, well, we're going to mandate insurance. It'll be cheaper for everybody. So everybody could afford it. And I'm thinking, well, that's not too bad, I guess. So as soon as they mandated it, full coverage went up to over $100 a year. Well, how did it get cheaper? It was only $30 before that. Because you had to have it. And they knew you had to have it, so he says, well, we can all bend them over now. And the insurance companies were behind it. You know, they petitioned Washington probably and said, you know, look, we need you to make this mandatory because, you know, it's good for the country. No, it's good for your fucking wallet. Unfortunately, the idiots, well, I'm sure they got paid off. But the politicians went along with it. And now they're going to try and probably pull the same thing. Well, I don't know if it was Farley, but one of those, I know it was a guy from Stellantis, maybe, you know, Chrysler. He said, well, it's dangerous for people to work on their own cars. It's dangerous to get out of bed in the morning. You know, it's dangerous to cross the street. It's dangerous to go to work. Life is dangerous. We deal with it, you know. So that's a lame excuse, but that was what was it? Well, it's too dangerous for people to work on their own cars. Okay, what if you take it to a licensed mechanic? Oh, it's too dangerous for them too. Only the dealer can work on the cars because we built them. Right there, you knew they were full of shit. You know. So, but this is the same shit, you know. So if they ban 3D printing or any type of, you know, CNC machine, laser cutter, all the products that were made with that stuff will triple in price. You watch and see. Because you won't be able to make it yourself anymore. You'll be at the mercy of the retailers and the manufacturers. And they will not hesitate to bend you so far over, you'll never stand back up straight again. Trust me on it. I'm telling you. I saw it with the car insurance and we'll see it with everything else, you know. Anytime they want to control something, it's somehow they're going to profit off of it. You know, back in the day, actually before the insurance deal, it was called competition. If your competitor lowered his price, you lower yours. And you guys got to a point where, you know, you got as low as you can go and then you stayed there. They don't do that anymore. Now it's how high can we go? How far can we bend the consumer over before they stop buying this stuff? And of course that's what we're seeing with cars now. There's probably 1 million cars out there that are not getting sold. People aren't going to pay $50,000, $60,000 for a piece of shit that may last you 2 years. And even then, if it lasts 2 years, it'll probably be in the shop just as much as it is in your driveway. It doesn't make sense. Not the fact, and then to mention the fact that it spies on you. You know, I was watching a video today. This is a woman, she was talking about she bought a, what the hell was it? It was a Honda? It was a new Honda. I don't know, it was an Accord or something. And she said, this thing is so intelligent. She says, I knew that, you know, there was stuff in their spyware. She says, you know, I downloaded the user manual from the internet and started turning things off, you know, in the car, because you can't do it. Most people don't have a clue or they don't even know about it, so they don't care. She started turning everything off and saying, no, I don't want you selling my information. No, I don't want you tracking me by GPS. No, I don't want you doing facial recognition while I'm driving the car, you know. And the thing is, you don't even really know if you're turning that shit off. Just because it tells you it did, don't mean it did. Why is all that crap in the car? You know, it's not necessary. It's all about control. And I got problems with that. When I get in the fucking car, the car does what I want, when I want, and how I want. Not the other way around. You know, I probably won't buy anything newer than what I already got. I got an 04 Grand Marquis. And if I can keep that fucking thing on the road till the day I die, I will. Even if I have to repower plant it and everything, you know. I'll buy a new motor, I'll buy a new transmission. As long as I can keep the body intact, we'll be fine. So, you know, it just doesn't make sense. So, and a lot more people are looking at it like I am. They're just not going to spend. Even if I wanted a new car, I couldn't afford one. How the fuck can I afford a $50,000 car? I'm only making $21,000 a year. You know, I got bills. So, you know, it's bullshit. Tom says back in the day you could get state insurance coverage for $50 a month. Thought that was great. When I got my license, they changed the laws. You had to have insurance from the insurance company. Yeah, well, Jersey always had. I thought they still have that. A hardship insurance. I thought they still had it. Maybe they don't. And that was much more. Of course it was. And that's another thing. Why doesn't the states have insurance? Where they could lower the price of it and have better control. Because, insurance companies are for profit. And I think there should be a law across the books, state or federal law, that says no entity could profit off of someone else's misery. That would fall under pretty much everything. Medical, insurance, probably a whole bunch of shit that I can't even name. If you're suffering for something or because of something, no one should profit off of that. Not saying they do it for free, but you pay for the actual cost and non-profit. So like if you go to the hospital and get a surgery, they charge you $200,000 for a surgery. The doctor gets $50,000, the hospital gets $75,000. Hey, Ken Amos, how you doing? Good to see you here. Everybody's getting their hands in the till. And you're thinking to yourself, why? How come everybody's getting all this money? You didn't do nothing for it. Not really, Good example. My ex-wife, our first child, my daughter, oldest daughter, April. I had her in the hospital, obviously. It cost me $1,200 for the whole thing. Prenatal care, the doctor, the hospital, $1,200. My son, the deceased one, he had his daughter, or was it his daughter. This was back in I think it was 2000, no. When the hell did he pass? I think it was in 1990, 95, somewhere around there. He didn't have the money, the state had to pay for it, but it was $27,000 to deliver that kid. And that didn't even cover prenatal costs. That was just the delivery and the hospital and doctor's cost. $27,000. And I've delivered babies, 2 of them, by the way. And all the doctor does is play catch as a rule. Now, if there's complications, that's a different deal. But a straight up, easy pregnancy, doctor's out there, plays catch. And he gets $27,000. Well, not quite $27,000, but a good chunk of that $27,000. There's something fucking wrong. I used to go to the emergency room because I had ear problems. I had constant ear infections, and nobody knew why. And they were crippling, I have to go down and get antibiotic and painkillers. $15 for the emergency room visit. This is back in the let's see, last time I paid that, it was 1980, somewhere around there. I paid the $15. They give you the drugs. They gave me pain medicine. They gave me antibiotics. Looked in my ears. All right, you'll be fine. Just take this. Sent me home. I went into the ER for food poisoning. All right, they didn't give me nothing the first time. The second time, I had to get a painkiller, injectable. I had to pay for that out of pocket, $80. It was $4,000 fucking dollars. How do we go from $15 to $4,000? Ken says Ford had a telematic module since 2019 and turning it off doesn't work. You need to remove it. Well, that's what I was saying earlier. In later years, some can be disarmed without messing stuff up. It reports driving habits and GPS. That's what I'm saying. It's ridiculous. And now they've gone even further. They're doing facial recognition for the driver and passengers. Next year they're going to put a kill switch in there where if you don't, the AI doesn't like the way you're driving, it turns the motor off and you're dead in the water. Fuck that. And you're paying, $50,000, $60,000 for this. We don't need that crap in a car. Let's go back to basic engineering. I like fuel injection. I've got no problem with that. So the electronic stuff isn't too much of a problem, but we don't need GPS monitors. We don't need facial recognition. We don't need any telematics at all. Just a basic car. You get in, you turn the key, you put it in gear, and you drive the fucking thing. Well, that's true, Ken, it is. And that's what the one girl was saying. Said I was watching a video and she was bitching about it. She bought a brand new Honda. And she claims she was able to turn it all off, but like I said, do you really know you're turning it off? It might say, it's like your phone. You could turn all that shit off on your cell phone, and it still does it. Same thing with my computer. I got updates turned off, got all the software for it removed, and it still does updates. Because basically I don't own the computer. I mean, I do, but as far as Gates is concerned, it's still his, and he has control over it. Well, fuck him. All this shit going on, it's all about control. Why do you think they tried to ban gas appliances? Because they can't control them. I have a gas stove in my house. They can't turn that motherfucker off. As long as I got gas, I'm in control of it. And they can't really stop me from purchasing more, propane. But if it were electric, with the smart meter that's installed on my house, against my wishes, by the way, they can actually turn off certain appliances in your house through the meter. Because it's all about control. Turning it off doesn't really do it. Many a video from shops claiming, of course it does. I agree with you. You'd have to remove it, and I'm sure that's not an easy job either. I took the airbag. Well, they're still in there, but they're disconnected in all my vehicles. I don't want nothing blown up in my face. I don't even really wear glasses when I drive. But back when I wore glasses, that could have been very detrimental to have an airbag blow up in my face. So I started disconnecting them back then. Well, the problem is, if you disconnect it, then it sends a signal to the airbag module that it's not connected, kicks the light on in the dash, maybe sounds an alarm. So now you got to disconnect the bulb, take that out, disconnect the alarm. You got to do a bunch of shit just so you don't have a bag blown up in your face. I did it because I don't care. I understand it's not legal to do that, but you know what? My fucking car, my fucking rules. I don't give a shit. I'll take my chances. There was a commercial on TV back, I think, in the 70s. And it was for Volvo, I think. And, they're showing the Volvo flying down the road, and there's a brick wall in front of it, down the road. He's saying, at Volvo, we build our cars safe for this and that. And right before it hits the wall, it goes around it. He says, but at Volvo, we tend to think it's better to avoid the accident than to knowingly get into one, no matter how safe the car is. That's common sense. I'm not taking a chance that bag is going to save my life. My daughter was in an accident. The airbag fucking fractured her fucking jaw. Her jaw was wired for 7 months. She had to drink through a straw, eat through a straw. Even the doctor said if it wasn't for the airbag, she probably wouldn't have got hurt. So it's like, Ken says the same stuff has been integrated into your phones, TV, and computers. Just mention something out loud and see if phone doesn't offer an ad. Yeah, that's true. And the TVs do the same thing. I'll be talking to the wife about something. The next thing you know, there's either an ad will pop up on the phone or a news item will pop up on the computer covering that. And it's like, oh, isn't that fucking weird? It's bullshit. And the thing is, and this is something I can't understand. Ever since I had my shop, my repair shop, I kind of got an attitude with salesmen. I really hate salesmen. I'd be under the car working. Next thing you know, sir, can I have some minute of your time? Come out from under the car. What do you need? And he says, well, we got a project. Oh, fuck, get out of here. I'm not interested. Well, I don't care. I'm busy. I'm trying to make money. If I need something, I'll find you. Whatever you're selling, I'm not interested in it. Hey, Papa John, how you doing? Good to see you. So, and it got to that point where I get constantly phone calls. I had a headset I wore because I got tired of running back and forth to the phone. So I wore a wireless headset for the phone. And it's like every 15 minutes some asshole was calling me trying to sell me something. And like I said, I got to the point where it's, look, I don't want to be fucking bothered. I'm not interested in what you got to sell. Now go fuck off, And that's the way I talked to him. I didn't care, Ralph Fanning will be in and out. Okay, Papa, that's cool. So, I hate salesmen. I hate advertising, If I see an ad on TV, which I don't because I don't watch commercial TV anymore. I watch TV shows and movies that are commercial free that I could watch when I want. Even if I saw something, I probably won't buy it just because, If I need something or want something, I will go hunt it down. I don't want to be bothered by this bullshit advertising. And advertising really disturbs me, man. I don't like it, And I'm sure I'm not alone. All right, Floyd, have a good one, man. Take care. We'll see you next time. Be safe, have fun. We'll see you later. So, I don't deal with advertising at all. I can't even watch TV if there's ads. My wife gets free internet TV, but it has ads. Like, I think it's Tubi and there's a few of them out there. I don't know, Peacock maybe. They're all advertisers, and it's like there's like 30 advertisements in a 1 hour show. You don't know what you're watching more of, the TV show or the ads. Now, how the fuck can you watch that? Oh, I don't know. I can't do it. I simply can't and won't, I watch a TV show, I want it to be commercial free, and they're down to like 40 minutes now for a TV show, 1 hour show. If you cut out the commercial, about 40 minutes. Used to be they were about 55 minutes back in the day. They're not anymore. I'd rather watch 40 minutes of uninterrupted fucking TV than to have to put up with some bullshit commercial, man. I just don't like commercials. And I don't like high pressure sales either. I walk into a store and right away, 3 or 4, can we help you, sir? You need anything further? If I need help, I'll let you know. Now go the fuck away. And then they get all a little bad out of shape. Well, you don't have to have an attitude. Yeah, I do. If I want help, I'll ask for it. I'm not stupid. I'm not a child. And I don't need somebody to lead me around with a leash or, by the hand. Whatever. So, I assume a lot of people are like me in that respect, There's nothing worse than walking into a store, you're just browsing. Maybe you already know what you're looking for and you pretty much know where it is. The next thing you know, somebody's right up your ass. Can we help you, sir? You need this? You need... Go the fuck away, But when you want them, they're nowhere to be found. You ever notice that? Yeah. I go in the store knowing what I want, but don't know where it is. Can't find it. So I'm looking for somebody to help me, direct me to the right place, and nobody's around. Yeah, it's Murphy's Law, I guess, but, So that's just the way I am. So this whole idea, and I guess a lot of it, with the spyware in the cars, not all of it, but a lot of it's strictly for advertisement. So you're in your car with your wife or your girlfriend, you're taking a leisurely drive on a Sunday afternoon, and your wife talks about, so, you're thinking about where we want to go on vacation or some shit like that. Next thing you know, you're getting deluged on your phone and your computer and probably even your car next about all the places, vacation spots. That would just piss me right the fuck off. But that's just me, I can't help it. Yeah, and I get older I get, the worse it gets too. Because one thing, I used to be a very patient individual. My patience went out the window. Now I'm kind of impatient. I just don't want to fuck around. I want to be left alone. I'm not really a loner, but I could be. But, I just don't want to be bothered by everybody's, drama or bullshit. Because I don't have time for that anymore. And nothing would be bigger waste of my time than an advertiser. And it was funny because, and half of these guys were all scam artists anyway. I got suckered once, and that was the first and last time. This black guy come in, nice guy, real personable, into the shop, and he says, do you ever have an issue where, you accidentally get grease on customers' interior? I said, yeah, it happens. I scrub it off, and, not a big deal. He said, well, I've got a product here that you just spray once, and it just evaporates. The stain is gone. And I'm going, yeah, I don't believe that. So he goes, no, let me show you. So I my car, because, mechanic's like a shoemaker, never has good shoes on. The mechanic always has a dirty car. So, I had cloth interior. I said, go ahead and, do a spot. Waited a minute, took a rag, just wiped it once or twice, and it was stained. Son of a bitch, it worked, I go, shit, man. I said, that's some good stuff. He says, can I sell you a drum of it? You mean like a 55-gallon drum? He says, yeah. I said, no. I said, I'll take a bottle of it. And if it works good, I'll just keep buying bottles, because I says, generally I'm very careful about my customers' cars. I have, sheets and stuff I can throw on their, seats if I have to drive the car. And I'll put on rubber gloves if I have to handle the, steering wheel or whatever. Because I'm very careful not to mess up my customers' cars, So I says, on the odd case where something will happen, I'll have a little grease stain or something, and, this would be perfect for it. So he was kind of reluctant about selling me, I think it was an 18-ounce bottle, spray bottle. I said, well, that's all I'm interested in, so you can either take it or leave it, So that bottle was like $18. So I says, all right, I'll go ahead and order me one. So he did. About a week later, it comes in the mail. I decided to test it out on my car again. It don't do shit. It might have been water for all I know, It wasn't clean or nothing. I said, motherfucker, I got screwed. Thank God I didn't buy a drum of it, 55-gallon drum would have probably cost me $1,000 or so. Which is probably what he's so adamant about selling me, a big quantity of it. So, I never saw him again. Lucky for him, because I probably had shot the bastard, So whatever he was using was the real shit. What he was actually selling was not. And a lot of them do that stuff, so. And that really soured me on buying anything from these so-called sales reps. The only thing I ever got that was a good deal, and it was a white guy. Now, I'm not saying there's a race involved in this, but it was a white guy, and he seemed pretty honest. He had this can. I don't remember the name. I wish I could, because I would buy it again. And it actually dissolved spider webs. And I'm in a steel building, my shop was, and spider webs were a big deal, So he sprayed one. It dissolves it, So that shit's pretty good. I said, it was like $6 a can. I bought a case of them. 12 cans. And the shit really worked, and it was residual. Once you sprayed that area, it'd be 6 months, maybe a year, before another spider web would turn up there. Good stuff, but I can't remember the name of it. I'd love to buy it again, because we don't really have a big problem in the house with it, but on occasion we get spider webs, and there are certain areas where spiders seem to like, and I'd love to spray them areas and dissolve the web, and they won't come back for 6 months or a year. Ken says they have new roadside cameras that not only track license plates but can tell what radio station. Those are the flock cameras, right? Sense phones and what you're doing on them, and the facial recognition, high-def pictures, data center. Yeah, I read about those. Those are flock cameras. the next generation of them. Why do they need to know that shit? I mean, we know why as far as they're concerned, but really, why do they need that shit? You know, if you're not committing a crime, you know, leave me the fuck alone. If I'm committing a crime, well, you know, let's do it the old-fashioned way anyway. And catch me in the act, you know. Using a camera to monitor where I'm going, you know, whether I'm smiling, grinning, sticking my tongue out at other drivers, that's none of your fucking business, you know. And a lot of people, fortunately, are taking them things down. Some guy in Florida, I think it was in Central Florida somewhere, I think. He just got arrested. He destroyed 13 of them. So it's like, good for him. Too bad he got caught, you know. Try and not get caught when you destroy them, but, you know. If everybody started doing that, whether you got caught or not, eventually they'd figure they'd lose money on it. They'd have to stop using them. I don't even know how the hell it's legal. It's a total invasion of privacy. Did not the Supreme Court rule some years ago that you have a right to expect privacy in your vehicle? Or some, I don't know how it was worded exactly, but it was a presumed expectation of privacy while you're in your car. What the hell happened to that? You know. I mean, if they do it in your cars now, how long before it's in your house? Give it time, it'll be. You know, maybe it already is, and we just don't know it yet. You know, here's one for you. Close your eyes so you don't see this. I'm not going to show it to you, but don't even visualize it. I walk around the house naked a lot. I don't care. You know, my fucking house, the only people there is me and the wife and the animals. They don't give a shit because they're naked too. You know. But it's comfortable. I sleep naked. I get out of bed and I stay naked for a good part of the morning. I'll get dressed and I'll come over here. You know. If I was staying at home all day, I wouldn't even bother to get dressed. What the hell do I care? We don't get visitors, you know. So, you know, if my house is spying on me, there's a lot of people that will never unsee what they've seen. And I don't care. Especially if they're high def, you know. You want to see my fat naked ass running around the house? Fucking have at it, man. I don't really care. You know, it's your eyesight. So, you know, and I'm sure they're going to run into this a lot, you know. You got to figure most people, you know, especially America's a lot more older now than it used to be. There's more elderly people than there are young people. And, you know, most elderly people are not in good shape. Most of them, not all of them. You know, they might be a little fat. They might be ridiculously fat. They might be a little saggy. You know, if you want to see that shit all day, every day, knock yourself out, you know. That's all I got to say. But, I mean, it pisses me off in a way, but like I said, I don't care. It's your eyesight, you know. And you can't unsee what you've seen. You know, but the reality is, why do they need to do that? Why are they so afraid? And it's got to be fear. That's the way to get rid of door-to-doors. Yes, it would be, Chuck. I've never answered a door naked. I've never had to, but, you know, I suppose. I know when the Jehovah's Witnesses used to come knock on a door. They don't do that anymore because it's too dangerous. But years ago, they used to, you know, we're witnesses. We'd like to talk to you. And then you do something like, I'm a Satanist. You best leave now before I stick the devil on you. You do some weird shit. They run. You know. And that got rid of the Jehovah's Witnesses. But, yeah, it didn't really work on anybody else. But I remember one time, some guy knocked on the door. I don't know who he was. I don't know what he's selling. I didn't care. So I said, hold on a minute. Dad, you grab me my gun. I might need it here right now. That guy ran down the fucking driveway so quick it had your head spinning. You know. I wasn't going to shoot him, obviously, but he didn't know that. You know. So there's a lot of ways to get rid of door-to-door salesmen. And you got to be a nutcase to do that shit anymore anyway, you know. I mean, like here where I live, people are afraid to pull in your driveway. You know, like when my mother-in-law was living in the guest house, she'd have nurses, aides come in and stuff, you know, check on her, wound care and all that sort of thing. They wouldn't pull in the driveway. So finally said, you know, you can use the driveway. It's 4 cars. Are you sure? Yeah, I'm sure. What the hell's your problem? You park out in the middle of a fucking road, you know. And one guy was out there, one woman rather, she parked her Jeep out there in the fucking cul-de-sac. The fucking garbage day, the fucking garbage truck, he's blowing his horn because he can't turn around with her car in the way. So fine, is that your car out there? Yeah. Put it in the fucking driveway. You're blocking the damn road. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know. You know, I mean, what the fuck's wrong with these people? I don't get it. Yeah, I guess that's the society we live in today. I mean, you know, it used to be people pull right in your driveway, get out and talk to you, or knock on your door. Now they go out on the road, you know. Yeah, before you know it, they'll be coming to your house with a fucking, you know, bulletproof shield in front of them. It's a little weird. But still funny. You want to have pest control come in, they wouldn't park in the driveway either. Just a pickup truck, you know, with a box on the back. I said to them, you know, you can pull in the driveway. You sure? Yeah, I'm sure. You know, it's a driveway. That's where you pull your car in. Be better than walking out to the fucking road. You know? Yeah, you're right, kid. Common sense has left the planet. Hey, what the hell is wrong with people? I really don't, you know. People are a little weird up here anyway, you know. I mean, compared to Naples, you know, it's like night and day difference. My wife's, you know, she's not real. She says, I don't know why the hell you want to live here. I says, well, you know, I don't really care because I'm, you know, I bought this place because it's away from everybody. I mean, I do have a couple of neighbors. But, you know, other than waving at them every now and then, I don't really interact with them, you know. And that's kind of the way I like it, you know. You do you, I'll do me. But I know, like, I got into, you know, I cuss, you know how I talk. I have to be very careful because people get seriously not just offended, but downright belligerent if they hear me cuss. You know, I was someplace and I said, well, you know, what the fuck is the problem here? And they're like, he cussed. We're gonna die, you know. Oh, you're fine. It's language. Deal with it. You don't cuss? Sure you do. Maybe not out in public, but pretty much 99% of the people in America, they cuss at some time or another, you know. I don't get it. It's just the way I talk. I mean, it's very hard I can't do it, but it's very hard for me to monitor my language and keep it clean, you know. Because I've been doing it for so long, it's second nature, you know. And I'm just like, you know, back in Naples, you know, I got into a pissing match with some woman. I don't remember what it was about, but I said, you know, this is fucking bullshit. Sir, don't cuss at me. I'm not cussing at you. I'm stating something. You know, I didn't say you're a fucking idiot. I said this is fucking stupid. Sir, you're still cussing. Yeah, well, I'm an adult. What about you? You know, if you keep cussing, I'm not going to talk to you anymore. Don't. See if I give a shit, you know. That'll just prove to me that you're just a dumb cunt. And then she fucking walked away. Like I said, if you piss me off enough, then I'm going to go off on you, but, you know. It's just words, you know. And I'm just so amazed that people are offended and ready to go to war, possibly even try and take your life for using a word, you know. And there's some words we really can't use because, you know which ones I'm talking about. Because people come apart when they come unglued when they hear it. Even though they use it on each other all day, every day. Tom Grassley. I never fucking cuss. Sure you don't. Alright, Papa John, we'll be right here, man, for a little bit anyway. So, I just can't help it, I grew up, my dad never cussed. Not ever, until he got Alzheimer's. Then he started cussing. It's weird, My mother, on the other hand, she cussed like a drunken sailor. You think I'm bad? She puts me to shame. She couldn't say 3 words without fuck being in it somewhere. That's just the way it was. And then she didn't stop at fuck. Every damn word you can think of. Cocksucker, fuck, shit, damn, hell. Every fucking word known, she would use in a sentence. Until she got old, then all of a sudden she didn't cuss anymore. I went up to see her, it's like, how old was she? She was in her late 60s. And I said, so how you fucking doing, Mom? Oh, I wish you wouldn't use that word. I says, what, fuck? Yeah, that one. Why are you using that word? Here comes a woman who couldn't fucking say 2 words without using that word. Shut the fuck up, Used to drive her nuts, but, she respected my right to use the word, but I think it really did bother her, but, hey, that's the way it goes. Derek says, and holding up one for her as opposed to the others means fuck you. Go figure. That's true. I mean, but my dad never cussed. I mean, all the years when I was growing up, I knew my mother cussed. It didn't bother me, but my dad, no matter how mad he got, no matter what went wrong, he never uttered a cuss word. Ever. And I figured he represented most people, And most of the people I was around didn't really cuss, in my presence. Until I got a little older and I found out everybody cussed. Eventually I started cussing and I figured, well, what the hell, we have to have contests as you could say how many cuss words without not saying one. We had tons of fun playing, I'll bet. I would probably win that contest. I don't know. Be pretty damn close anyway. Now there are some words that religiously you're not supposed to use. Damn is one, hell is another, and of course you're not supposed to use the Lord's name in vain. So the God, whatever big no-no. And I never used to say that until a few years ago, and I'm really trying hard not to say it because, you're not supposed to. You're not supposed to wish anybody to go to hell, but I know there's so many people that need to go there that I can't help myself. But fuck isn't even a word. It's a fucking acronym. What the hell does it mean? Well, there's several definitions, but the one I was is forced unwilling carnal knowledge. Another word for rape. That actually originated I think in the 1500s. Been around for a long time. Even shit is actually an acronym too. Store high in transit, and that was for certain chemical. I think it was wheat and stuff. It was important not to get wet in the ship or it could explode. So these actually started out as acronyms, later on adapted to cuss words. There's something about calling something poop that I just can't reconcile with. I gotta go poop. No, you gotta shit. Go shit. I guess that's just me, but Dave, you taking off? All right, Dave. Thanks for popping in, man. Thanks for hanging out, and have a good and fun weekend. Be safe. Hopefully, we'll see you next week. So, it's just, they're just words, What if doodle was a cuss word? You gonna doodle her? Oh, go doodle yourself. We would probably treat it the same way, even though it's not a cuss word, but what if it was? George Carlin's out there watching your show. Well, the spy, yeah, probably. Well, then the 7 dirty words or 9 dirty words, whatever it was. I can't remember what that was. I always said you were rotten hell. Yeah, I might. I don't know. I hope not, but if cussing will get you sent to hell, you'll all be joining me. So we won't be lonely down there. We'll suffer in unison, as companions. But I don't think you go to hell for that. I think truly evil people will go to a place called hell. I think the rest of us will be fine. I hope. Oh, you always said you were rotten hell. Yeah, that's a good saying too. Yeah, rotten hell. Which you're really not supposed to do that. That's considered an actual swear word, according to the Bible. You're not supposed to wish anybody to hell. You're not supposed to wish anybody to be damned. But what are you gonna do? Now, unless you're Indian, if you're from India, they love the word cocksucker. I've been called a cocksucker by more Indians than I know what to do with. You fucking cocksucker. Dude, I've never sucked a cock in my life. You probably have. I mean, that is their word. My word might be fuck. Theirs is cocksucker. Now, I love to fuck, so, if you look at it from their point, maybe they love to suck cock. I don't know. Hard telling. So, By the way, I always thought George Carlin was the greatest fucking comedian on the planet. And I still don't think anybody can beat him. I used to listen to every show he ever did. He was just something about him, man, that he could just make you laugh. And most of the stuff he talked about was true, Anything political, anything societal was all based on fact, Yeah, amazing guy. It's a shame that he died, but I guess his heart couldn't take, because that what he had. He has like 9 heart attacks or something. I guess the last one did him in, but it's a shame, really. I miss the guy, but so but it is what it is. I see George on you. Yeah, he's on YouTube a lot, man. I bump into some of his stuff. I'll watch it again just for shits and giggles. It's like funny as hell. I wish I had that talent. I don't, but if I did, I think I'd probably be out there doing the same thing, Why not? So, yes, why do we park on the driveway and drive on the parkway? I know. Makes no sense. Our language is so screwed up anyway, We use the same word, but spelled differently, to have 7 or 8 meanings, It doesn't make sense. And that's why I guess so many foreigners can't learn English too easily, because they don't understand how our words work. They have a separate word for each thing. We use multiple words, but we just spell them differently. Chuck said, never laughed at his own stuff and his facial expression. That's true. He was still funny, though, man. I wish I could have seen him live. I never did. But I wished I could have. I would have probably paid decent money to go watch one of his shows in person. And I probably would have had sore sides for the rest of the evening, too. Because, like I said, the guy was just funny as shit, And you know what actually got me started with him? And it's very, very old. I can't find it. It was on a record. I think it was before he started doing video stuff, but because it was a record, and it was a friend of mine's record, and I'm listening to it. And he was pretending to be a weatherman, and he says, "Yeah, the skies are pretty clear today. 20% chance of rain." And there's a bunch of ICBMs flying. Get ready to kiss your ass goodbye. Funniest thing I ever heard. You know, I'm sure I'm not saying it right, but you get the idea. Ever since then. I just liked the guy. I thought he was the funniest comedian there ever was. And I wish I could find that record again. George Carlin is either standing at the pearly gates screaming, "Let me the fuck in," or he's sitting next to God making him laugh. That's possible. I don't think it wound up in hell, you know. I could be wrong, but who knows. He was just a really, really good comedian, you know. One of the best, I think. I like Cosby, too, even though Cosby, well, maybe he's a rapist. We don't really know. I still think they set him up, but maybe he could have been. Who the hell knows? But Cosby was funny, especially, you know, in his younger years before he had his TV show. I used to listen to his records, too, you know. Fat Albert and all the bullshit that they used to do. And it was funny as hell, you know. The only difference Cosby is his jokes were clean, you know. He didn't cuss. So really, Carlin was the first one I liked that, you know, actually cussed. And that other black guy, what the hell is his name? He's dead now too, but I can't remember his name now. He used to cuss. He was way worse than Carlin, but he was also funny, you know. What the hell is it? I can't remember his fucking name now, but he caught fire too, I think. Just like Michael Jackson did, you know, had a meth accident there or whatever. But he was funny as shit, man. And what started me with him was, it was on a record. He was doing this skit, and they were out in the street, and he says, you know, a lot of black folk, they carry knives, you know. And now it wasn't Red Fox, it was the other one. Red Fox was funny too, though. Yeah, the name's on the tip of my tongue. He's a young guy. I can't remember who the hell it was now, but one of you guys will figure it out. Carlin is telling God that you made me go through all that bullshit down there when I could have been up here all this time. Richard Pryor, that's who it was. Yeah, Pryor. Pryor was funny. Had a nasty mouth, but that was fine though because it worked out good, you know. And the first time I heard him, they said they were doing this street fight, or a possible street fight, and yeah, the Hippy Dippy Weathermen from 1960. That's probably what it was. I'll have to check that out. Thanks for that, man. I don't know why I didn't know that. And he's doing this skit, and I guess there's a couple of black guys out there, and they got knives. And the one guy, I don't remember exactly how it went, but the one guy, he stabbed the other guy, but it was okay because he was justified. So Pryor goes, well, you better give that Negar a cigar. Funniest fucking thing I ever heard, you know. And, you know, like I said, it wasn't a problem back in those days, especially the way he said it, you know. Just that fucking got me hooked on him right there, you know. Give that Negar a cigar. I mean, what the hell, you know? Yeah, I'll check out the Hippy Dippy Weatherman. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, that was the funniest thing I ever saw. I didn't see it because they said he was on a record, you know, a big album. And he was doing the weather report. And I don't remember how exactly it went, but I just know the way he said it was so funny that I said, oh, I got to listen to more of this guy, you know. And that's all it takes sometimes, you know, just to hear the right thing and you get hooked. So, pretty funny shit. Well, like I said, I don't let words bother me. You know, I'm Italian. I've been called, you know, let's see, I've been called a lot of times. I've been called a greaser, a dago, a wop, a guinea. I think guinea is the worst word you can call an Italian, because that's like the lowest class of Italian there is. A wop means you're without papers. Those were people who came to America in the turn of the century, 20th century, without papers, so they call them wops. And that's what wop means, without papers. And a dago, well, I don't know where the dago came from, but, you know. Have me call all that shit. I don't care. You know. Call me anything you want, just call me late for dinner, right? So that's why I don't understand people who are upset with any nicknames or slang words or whatever. You know, some of them may be borderline hate, whatever. So what? They're still just words, you know. Nobody ever died from a word as far as I know. Not from the word itself, anyway. The gun behind it or the knife behind it might have killed you, but the word didn't. But I've been around some people, you know. The one guy, I got in a fight with him. Oh, thanks, Tom. Appreciate that. I got in a fight with this guy because, you know, I called him a son of a bitch. Because he was. He got so pissed off about it, he wanted to kick my ass. And I'm going, dude, you want to kick my ass because I called you a son of a bitch? The fuck is wrong with you, you know? You can't say that to me. Yeah, but I did, so what? Get over it, you know. I'll kick your ass. Well, he didn't, because I kicked his ass. You know, I said, so, see, there you are. Now you're a beat-up son of a bitch. Really pissed him off. You know, I mean, they're just words. That's like women, you know. You call a woman a cunt, I mean, that's like the worst thing you can call a woman, you know. And I generally don't call one that unless she's really being a cunt, you know. And they don't like that shit, man. They're ready to fight over that. They're ready to kill over that, you know. It's like, damn, what the fuck, you know. To me, I wouldn't fight for words. I'd fight over actions, you know. You come at me with a weapon or even with fists, I'm going to try and defend myself. You come at me with words, yeah, is that the best you can do? I don't care, you know. You know, I think a lot of people, they don't understand it either. What? I called you a dago. Did that make you mad? No, not at all. Well, you fucking guinea, you know, that don't bother me either. Yeah. Some guys get pissed off, you call them a motherfucker. Well, you got kids, you're a motherfucker. You know. That's when I did my wise guy. I did one on Father's Day. I don't remember what I covered on it, but I says, you know, Happy Father's Day to all you dads out there. Remember, you're the real motherfuckers. Yeah, nobody was offended by it because, you know, my reader base, they don't care, but, you know. But there's some people that have got pissed off over that. It's like, well, it's true. You know. I guess they look at it from the perspective that, you know, you think, I don't fuck my mother. I didn't say you did. I just said you're a motherfucker. If your wife had kids by you, then she's a mother. You're a motherfucker. You know. How hard is it to figure out? And I can't even take credit for that saying because I read it somewhere. It was on a meme, you know. I think it was, yeah, for all you dads out there, the real motherfuckers. Okay. Makes sense to me. I don't know. Weird shit. Let's see. What else we got going on here? That's a good idea. Who was it? Was it Derek? Was you the one that said to use wire? That's a good idea. You know, you gotta glue this back on. I'll put a thin wire on each end and through the cardboard of the frame. So at least if the glue gives out again, the wire will hold it in place. And that, what did I use for that? I use that real good adhesive. The stuff in the tube. And usually that stuff doesn't break down, but this did. I mean, you can see where it just kind of left the cardboard. It didn't tear the cardboard with it. Some of the glue's still on the cardboard. But what I should have done with this was grind it down thin and smooth, so I would have got a good adhesive surface on it. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to grind the backs of these down so there's no rust on them. And because, you know, Spike Man actually made this for me. This is BNSF Railroad on that one. Got my name on the head of it. Jim Tedesco. And this one here has got Millennium County Railroad. Pretty cool, actually. At least I'm not a big Spike person, but I thought it was cool, so, you know, I mounted it in the frame and hung it on the wall. So, yeah, what the hell, right? So, I also got, you know, I was going to get the frame for the door, too. I don't think I can afford that yet, either. I got to go to Home Depot tomorrow. I got to pick up a weather strip for my guest house's front door. I went to collect the rent yesterday, and she goes, you know, she's like, I'm getting lizards in the house left and right. I hate lizards. I said, I wonder why you're getting lizards in here. She says, well, you know, there's an opening by the door. Take a look at the door, and about this much of the weather strip is just gone. Like the cat or something chewed it out. So I'll replace the whole piece. I said, I'll get a new one for you, no problem. I said, hell, there's enough room for small kids to get through that, you know. Even though there isn't, but. So I gotta get that. I might look at, I don't know, it depends how expensive it is. I might be able to at least get this side of the framing done. I'd like to wrap that up and paint it. Just to get it out of the way, you know. You know, I've got paint for the walls, so I mean, if I have to do any touch-ups, I've got like half a gallon of the paint that was left over from when I originally painted this place. And I probably need to go around and patch some, you know, nail holes and places where I put holes in the walls and just patch them all up, you know. At some point I'm going to have to do that anyway and clean it up a little bit. Other than that, I mean, and I got to fix the ceiling over there. And one part of the ceiling's falling down. That's because there's no wood up under there. I don't know if you can see that or not. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, it's the only thing holding it up right now is the fan. So I can't run the fan with it because the fan will just hit it. So I got to get it back up there, which will also help the air conditioner in the heat of the summer. So I want to get that fixed. I'm thinking I might retape it and I get some furring strips, one on each side where I can hit the wood, because that's just an area where there's no wood, and that'll actually hold it up, and I could paint the wood silver and all. Yeah, I'm still here. Hey Russ, how's it going, man? I'll be here for a little bit anyway. So I want to fix that, and I even got, even down on the end there by the lights, the ceiling's opened up a little bit. Not really, but I've got 3 burnout bulbs at the very end. I didn't even know my wife noticed it. She goes, you know, how come it's so dark over there? I don't know. She goes, you know, the lights are burning. I said, oh shit, I'm going to buy more bulbs. So I really got to stay on top of shit here, you know. But I'll get around to it. And I got the camera. Oh. Wrong way. Too much. There we go. So I got to get some stuff taken care of. I'd like to repaint my bench too. It's just I've got the self-healing mat over here, but it only covers like this much of the bench. So I need to take it off, clean everything off here, repaint it. I got a dark gray. And repaint it and make it look good again. And sometimes when I'm drilling shit, I'll use the face of it as a brace for the board that I'm drilling, and accidentally drilled a few holes in it, you know. Not deep ones, but I could patch those, you know. No big deal, but so just little stupid things like that that eventually I'll get, you know, straightened up and cleaned out. And Yeah, like I said, I want to get back on working on the layout. And like I said, I've got the motor man, so I might as well start putting it in. And I'm still debating. I mean, me and Tom talked about this, and first we thought I'd go on the floor with the sensor wire. Then I said, well, it'd be better if I put it up top here. So maybe I could suspend it, you know, from the ceiling. Because 8 foot, which is quite a bit. So even if I put a couple of rods up and hung it off the rods, so I could walk under it, you know. I mean, it's not really a big deal as how it looks. But I think it'd be better than putting it on the floor, because I'd be stepping on it. I'd have to cover it with tape or something, because otherwise I'd want up ripping it out, you know. So, because I think I'm going to put, it's going to be on this wall here, on this side here. I'm going to put the Motorman main unit in. And one sensor will be on that side over there on the station. Then the other wire has to come over here to this side of the station. So it's a shame that I have this fucking pass through, but there's no way around it because I can't duck under it, you know. So originally, like I said, I wanted to have 2 loops. I wanted to have one on this side and one on that side and have the middle open. But 11 foot isn't wide enough to do that with HO. And I have a decent radius. Even with 18-inch radius, I just barely have enough to squeeze my fat ass through. So that's why I said I really screwed up. I should have bought 2 of these sheds when I had the money. You know. Put them together. Took out the center walls. So I would add 24 foot by 32 foot. And then I could have actually done it where I could have had one side with a loop, the other side with a loop, and even a center island. I mean, it would have been perfect. I don't know why I didn't do it, you know. Well, like I said, I mean, regardless of how much money I may have on me, I still tend to be frugal. Try to be anyway. So, you know, like I said, I had $100,000, $107,000 to begin with. And I could have easily spent $16,000 on 2 of these. Sometimes we have to make do with what we have. Well, exactly. You know, that's where I'm at. I'm offline again. OBS disconnected, reconnecting. Reconnection successful. Be on in a minute. I just have to wait. Alright, come on. Now buffering. Yeah, it'll be on in a minute. Okay. I'm coming back. Just hang on. Alright, we're good. I think. Am I good? Yeah, I think so. That went off again. What the fuck? Am I back? I'm back now, okay. I don't know what the hell, same thing it did. It said OBS offline, OBS back online. I don't know what the hell's going on there. I'm in the green, so I don't understand what's going on. Yeah, we do love technology, my ass. So, like I said, the bigger your space, of course, the more money you're going to spend to fill it, you know. And this is fine, you know. I'm not complaining. This is plenty big enough. But it would have been nice. Yeah, it must be so. Yeah, aren't we supposed to be getting a... Or is that tomorrow? It's either today or tomorrow. It's supposed to be a solar storm. The worst one forever. Like a G2 or something. That could be it, you know. I forgot about that. The board's going nuts here between green, yellow, red, orange. So I got 8-second delay. I don't know why. Now it's in the green. Hopefully it stays there. It could be this. It could be that geomagnetic storm. I don't know. It might be. So I'm showing something on the board there. What is it? Must be sunspots. Okay. And anyway, I'm gonna knock off here in a few minutes. Anyway, 9:30 we're gonna knock off, but because it's going nuts. I don't know what the hell's going on. So anyway, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Now I'm buffering again. What the fuck? So I got Starlink, so this wouldn't happen. Iran took out the satellite closest to your eye. Could have been, you never know. Stranger things have happened. Alright guys, I think we're just going to go ahead and close it out. It's just not getting any better. So I'll see everybody next week. I appreciate you hanging out with me. I'm sure I'll have more stuff to show off next week. Maybe I'll even have the Motorman running. Who knows? We'll see. And remember, the trains start 15 minutes before 6 o'clock. 5:45 the trains will run. Make sure you check them out. Comcast working to jump ship over to Starlink. I wouldn't doubt it. I got a what do you call it, a video. It claims that there's a setting you could change on Starlink to double your speed. I'm going to look into it. We'll see. Alright guys, I'm going to put the closing screen up. Thanks again for hanging out with me, and we'll see you next week. Hopefully there won't be any sunspots or geomagnetic activity to deal with. Hopefully the internet's still up. So everybody have a good weekend. Be safe. Play with your trains if you got them. And well, we'll see you next week, man. Good show as always, Big Jim, and a pleasure to chat with all of you. All the people pissed off with Musk making $1 trillion blocking. I wouldn't doubt it, Tom. Can you imagine $1 trillion? What the hell is he even going to do with all that money? I don't care. More power to him, but that's a lot of damn money, man. What if he throw me $1 million, just for shits and giggles, right? Anyway, we'll see. Here's the outro.